Chapter 2853. But even if I'm interrogating these void monsters, it won't do if I can't understand their language. Fortunately, I've consumed the universal translation fruit and finally understood their language. Xiaoping stroked his chin. In fact, he had consumed the universal translation fruit before. In just a few breaths' time, he could understand the language of the universe. In the beginning, he could not understand the void monster's language. But as time passed, and he came into contact with them more, he finally understood what they meant. Therefore, language was no longer a problem for him. At this thought, he did not hesitate and asked one of the void monsters, "Where did you come from?" Instantly, waves of void fluctuations appeared in the depths of the void. They seemed to form the void language and were transmitted to the void monster's sea of consciousness, allowing them to hear them. At this moment, the void monsters had fallen into Xiaoping's illusion and fell into tens of thousands of illusory worlds. It was impossible for them to wake up. They had completely treated Xiaoping as their companion and were chatting casually. "We're from," the void monster subconsciously wanted to answer, but at that instant, the restriction formation deep in its sea of consciousness was activated. A destructive wave erupted from its body. Suppress. The moment Xiaoping made his move, a massive wave of world-law energy enveloped the void monster, forming a transparent world cage that easily enveloped it. In that instant, the entire void monster immediately exploded. Even its soul was shattered, producing a terrifying destructive force. Of course, under the suppression of the world cage, the explosion wave did not spread out and did not affect the surroundings. Looks like deceiving this void monster's soul isn't enough. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He initially thought that as long as he deceived the void monster and made it not think that he had leaked the secret, it would not trigger the restriction formation deep in his sea of consciousness. That way, he would be able to get the secret easily. But now, it seemed like the restriction formation deep in the void monster's sea of consciousness did not care about that. As long as he tried to leak the secret to outsiders, it would immediately explode, whether it was intentional or not. In order to deceive this restriction formation, I'll probably have to deceive even the laws and make the restriction formation think that I'm one of them. That's the only way to deceive the world. Xiaoping felt that only the true demon god's power could do that. Only such power could deceive the laws and the great Tao, and even distort the great Tao laws. I'm a void monster. In an instant, Xiaoping immediately used the authority of the true demon god on him. A power that could deceive and distort the laws of the great path emanated out, causing the laws in all directions to turn illusory. Crash! Immediately, the power of demon gods that distorted the laws enveloped his body, as if he had transformed into a void monster. Even his soul was identical to that of a void monster, and even the laws of cause and effect were distorted. He felt as if he had developed a sense of intimacy with these void monsters, as if they were comrades to begin with. What a powerful force! Xiaoping was amazed. To be honest, no matter how many times he used the power of the true demon god, he was still amazed. Such power was simply beyond common sense. The true demon god's words were definitely true. Even if it was false, it would definitely become true. Reversing cause and effect, reversing true and false. Neither true nor false, neither false nor empty. This was an unimaginable realm. "Brother, where are we from?" At this moment, Xiaoping asked, looking at the other void monster. This time, he didn't trigger any restrictions. Clearly, the cause and effect restriction that was engraved in the depths of these void monsters' consciousness didn't think that Xiaoping was an outsider. Instead, they treated him as one of the void monsters. If he leaked this information to an outsider, he would naturally die. But if he was one of them, no matter how many secrets he revealed, there wouldn't be any problems. "Idiot, did you lose your memory? We are from the evil god universe, the key of the gate Yog. We are the dependents of the evil god Sothith." A void monster said matter-of-factly. "Key of the gate Yog? Sothith? What's his background?" Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. "Shut up, you idiot. How dare you be so disrespectful to the Lord? He knows everything about time and space. He is the great existence of the Silver Gate Key, and also the great God that created us. This void monster said fanatically. God. Xiaoping's heart was in turmoil. He didn't expect a god to be standing behind these void monsters. But didn't they say that the gods were long dead? Why do they still exist? And what was the meaning of this evil god universe? Without a doubt, these void monsters contained earth-shattering secrets. He calmed himself down and continued to ask, what does the evil god universe mean? It's literally what it means. The evil god universe is the universe world that we live in. There are many great evil gods in the place where we were born. They possess unimaginable godly powers. The void monster said, and this place is the hell universe. It is just a place that our evil god universe invaded. Life that is born in hell is our food. What? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He asked carefully. Based on what this void monster said, there were endless universes in the chaos world. Each universe was unique. Some are single universes, some are multiverse universes, some are plane universes, etc. Moreover, most of the life forms in the universe were unable to leave their original universe. They didn't even know that there were other universes outside. After all, just the universe itself was huge. One wouldn't be able to explore it in a lifetime. So where would they find the time to explore beyond the universe? But the evil god universe was different. They had developed to the extreme and gave birth to many evil gods. It could be said to be the era of the gods. They were so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. To seek development, they had already broken through the boundaries of their original universe. They found a way to head to other universes and opened a space-time tunnel to other universes. And the Hell World was one of the universes that these evil gods found. Thus, they opened a space-time tunnel and invested a large amount of troops in an attempt to invade the Hell World and plunder the resources of Hell. But because they were life forms from the evil god universe, once they entered other universes, they would be targeted by the origin of the other universes. They would be greatly suppressed. The stronger the life form, the greater the suppression. There might even be heavenly wrath that could kill even the evil gods. Thus, the evil gods couldn't enter at all. They could only send their subordinates in to slowly devour the entire hell world. And these void monsters were the dependents of the evil gods. Chapter 2854. To prevent any wrong information, Xiaoping didn't just ask one void monster. He also asked the other void monsters, especially the leader-class void monsters. It was obvious that such void monsters would know more. I see. As he asked more questions, Xiaoping gained a better understanding of the evil god universe. In fact, many evil gods in the evil god universe didn't invade other universes to develop, but to survive. One must know that even a seemingly eternal universe would have life and death. However, because the lifespan of a universe was too long, it was considered eternal to ordinary life forms. Many evil gods were born in the evil god universe. On the surface, they seemed to be flourishing, but they were in a state of decline. After all, each god needed to devour a large amount of resources from the universe. It could be said that the more gods there were, the more resources they would consume. As the evil god universe was flourishing, too many evil gods were born, causing the resources of the entire universe to deplete quickly, speeding up the universe's death. It could be said that the evil god universe had entered a period of decline and was about to be destroyed, starting the next universe epoch. However, these evil gods claimed to be immortal. How could they be willing to die along with the universe? They tried their best to find a way to prolong the universe's decline. In the end, they found a way. Since the universe was declining due to the depletion of resources, they would plunder resources from other universes to make up for the loss of the universe's source. Without a doubt, this method was effective. To a universe, if it could devour the source energy of other universes, it would naturally strengthen its own universe's source energy and prolong its aging period. It was said that some powerful universes had used this method to live to their second, third, and even fourth lives. The gods that lived in such universes were naturally extremely powerful. However, this method wasn't without its flaws. After all, plundering resources from other universes was equivalent to starting a war with them. Once a war broke out, the consumption of resources would increase exponentially. If they couldn't take down the opposing universe in a short period of time, it would speed up the destruction of their own universe. Fortunately, the evil god universe was extremely powerful. After several universe-level wars, they won and plundered large amounts of the universe's source energy to prolong the lifespan of the evil god universe. However, it only prolonged its lifespan. After all, different universes were different. Some were weak, while others were strong. The evil god universe was undoubtedly one of the stronger universes. Its origin energy was tyrannical. The universes they destroyed belonged to the weaker ones. Even if they obtained the origin, they could only slightly extend their lifespan. They could not live a second life. This time, the Fiend god universe had their eyes on the underworld. This was because the level of the hell world was almost the same as the evil god universe. Moreover, it was still in the growth stage and was far from reaching its peak. This made it the best prey for the evil god universe. If he succeeded, the evil god universe would be able to extend his lifespan and live a second life. How do I destroy the universe? Xiaoping was very curious about this. He asked these void monsters in detail, and very soon he understood. It was also very simple to destroy the universe. The first method was to kill most of the life in the universe, losing all the soul source energy. This way, the universe would enter a state of decline. This was because life itself was a part of the universe and was born by the universe's origin. If a life died and was absorbed by another life form in another universe, it would be equivalent to the other universe plundering its origin energy. The second method was to destroy every continent, every planet, and even every plane of the universe and devour the land's origin energy bit by bit. As long as more than 90% of the land was devoured, the universe would collapse naturally. Therefore, the war between universes was very cruel. Basically, one side would die, and all the races would be wiped out. However, the hell world was not so easy to take down. Even if they found a space-time tunnel to enter the hell world, they would be suppressed by the origin of hell because they were creatures of other universes. The evil gods could not enter the hell world at all. Otherwise, they would be killed by the origin of hell. Origin suppression. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. In fact, he was not a creature of the hell world, but he was not suppressed. Instead, he was supported by the origin of hell. This was probably because he had the bloodline of the golden crow of hell in him. Therefore, the hell world recognized him as one of them. Therefore, he was not suppressed by the origin. It was the same for Luna. She was Xiaoping's dependent, so she was naturally recognized as a member of hell. Because of this, only creatures below the rank of evil god could enter the hell world. However, even so, they were greatly suppressed by the plane of hell. They were weak and could not compare to demons of the same level. Moreover, the number of demons was endless. No matter what, the hell world and the evil god universe were on the same level. Therefore, the evil gods suffered serious setbacks at the beginning and suffered heavy losses. In order to change the situation, the evil gods used their own flesh and blood to create void monsters that could be said to be immortal and had the bloodline of the evil god. These void monsters had the characteristic of being immortal and were extremely difficult to kill. At the same time, they could devour other flesh, life, and souls to increase their strength and speed up their growth. It could be said that they were the strongest war weapons of the evil gods. Once they were sent out, they would be successful in every endeavor. Even the souls of these void monsters were bound to the evil god altar. Even if their physical bodies were destroyed, their souls would return to the evil god altar and be rapidly reborn. Therefore, these creatures from the evil god universe did not fear death and fought without fear. Evil god altar, Xiaoping clenched his fists. He finally understood why these void monsters were so arrogant. It turned out that they relied on their immortal bodies. Once they died, they could be reborn in the evil god altar. Therefore, they were fearless. With such a weapon of war, the devils were forced to retreat step by step, holing up in the infernal plane to defend. If this continued, it was only a matter of time before the demons were annihilated. This was something that was undeniable. Fortunately, Xia Ping came to the Hell World and barely managed to stop the attacks of the evil gods. It was obvious that these void monsters had met their nemesis. Even the power of the evil god, Alter, could not stop the flames of the Golden Crow of Hell. Before their souls could return to the evil god, Alter, they were probably burned to death by the flames of the Golden Crow of Hell. And the flesh and blood of the evil god was the best fuel for the Golden Crow of Hell. This was just like how everything in the world had a counter to each other. Chapter 2855. Space-Time Passageway. Xia Ping squinted his eyes. From the words of these void monsters, he knew that space-time passageways to other universes existed. Some were formed naturally. Just like how he went from the real universe to the Hell World, this space-time passageway was formed naturally and extremely sturdy. It could be considered a miracle in the universe. Some were created artificially. Just like the evil god universe, some of the stronger evil gods roamed the chaos, shuttling between universes in search of powerful universes. When they found a universe, they would observe the weakest part of the universe and use their powerful god power to forcefully open a space-time passageway to connect the universes. It was obvious that the evil god Alter was opened by many evil gods using a large amount of god power. It was the only passageway that connected Hell and the evil god universe. From this space-time passageway, one could go from the evil god universe to the Hell World, and for the Hell World to the evil god universe. It was said that in order to open this stable space-time passageway that crossed the chaotic void, many evil gods were heavily injured and fell into a deep sleep. Until now, they had not woken up. Evil god universe. Xia Ping clenched his fists. He could feel the Hell Golden Crow bloodline in his body boiling. To other living beings, these evil gods are the most terrifying beings. They couldn't be looked at directly. They were indescribable existences that couldn't be stopped at all. However, to the Golden Crows of Hell, these evil gods were the best fuel and food. If he could burn all these evil gods to death, the benefits he would obtain would be unimaginable. He would reach the supreme realm instantly, and even surpass the Hell Golden Crow's realm. It seems like I can make a trip to the evil god universe. Maybe I can find an opportunity to become a god. Xia Ping's heart stirred. He felt that if he wanted to surpass the invincible sage and become a god, he would have to head to the evil god universe. There would definitely be a way to become a god there. And it was not just the evil gods. Even the evil gods' minions, if he could burn them to death, would bring him endless benefits. Because at his current realm, if he wanted to break through, he did not know how much resources he would need to consume. After all, he had the 9 general consciousness seas, which formed the 9 great worlds. The resources he needed were endless. He might not even be able to find so many resources in the modern universe. Even if he could find it, he didn't know how long it would take. Not to mention advancing to the realm of gods. If he did not think of a way, even if he advanced to the realm of invincible saints, he would be trapped in this realm, unable to break through until the end of time. Forget it. Let's not think about this for now. Since I found out about these secrets, these void monsters are useless now. I'll just burn them all and turn them into nourishment for me to reach immemorial full cultivation. Thinking of this, Xia Ping's eyes flashed, and a terrifying flame circulated in the depths of his pupils. Rumble, in the blink of an eye, boundless infernal Golden Crow flames erupted from his body, instantly covering a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers, forming a boundless sea of fire. And in the depths of this dark golden sea of fire, there seemed to be a terrifying Golden Crow of Hell. It stood on 3 legs, emitting a terrifying demonic aura that suppressed the heavens and earth. Master. So that's how it is. Master has inherited the bloodline of the demon god. No wonder it's so terrifying. Not only did he inherit the bloodline of the demon god, but he also inherited the authority of the demon god. This kind of bloodline power is like the demon god himself. No wonder his strength is so domineering. With this kind of strength, even without the support of the Green Lotus Hell's source, he can probably fight invincible demons. Seeing this scene, all the demons were shocked. All of them prostrated on the ground. Even if they were invincible demons, they could not resist the pressure of the demon god. This was the suppression from the bloodline. At the same time, all of them were convinced, and their hearts were filled with extreme respect. At the end of the day, hell was still a world where the weak were prey to the strong, and the strong were respected. Whoosh! The moment the infernal golden crow flames appeared, they immediately pounced on the bodies of the void monsters. Instantly, like fire meeting oil, a huge reaction occurred. What happened? What the hell happened? Weren't we fighting with these demons just now? We were about to win. How did this happen? Illusion. We fell into an illusion. We were all in an illusion just now. It was all a dream. Impossible. We are the dependents of the evil god. Void monsters, undying existences. How could we fall into an illusion? How could such a ridiculous thing happen? We can't block it. We can't block such flames. Hurry up and run. Kill yourself. As long as we kill ourselves, our souls can instantly return to the evil god's altar and be reborn. It's useless. It's useless. It's completely useless. Not only can such flames burn the bodies of our void monsters, but even our souls will be burned. Due to the unparalleled pain and the fear of impending death, the void monsters finally broke free from the illusion. But it was too late. The endless infernal golden crow flames had already engulfed their bodies. Instantly, the void monsters turned into huge, dark golden torches, letting out shrill cries. But no matter how they struggled, they could not escape from the burning of the infernal golden crow. Rumble, in just a few breaths, none of the void monsters managed to escape. They were instantly burned to ashes by the infernal golden crow flames. All the impurities of the evil gods were turned to ash, leaving behind only the purest source energy. I see. At this moment, Xiaoping finally understood why Hell of Green Lotus would evolve so much after obtaining the source energy left by the void monsters. That was because the dependence of the evil gods came from other universes and had the source energy of other universes. They died here, and their source energy was absorbed by Hell of Green Lotus. This was equivalent to Hell swallowing the source energy of the evil god universe to evolve. One had to know that the evolution level of the evil god universe was relatively high. It was many times higher than the infernal realm. It was just like a mortal obtaining the saint's origin energy. The benefits were simply too great. It was like reaching the heavens in a single step. In an instant, Xiaoping sensed that in the depths of his body, every single cell was devouring the massive source energy that was surging over from the evil god's minions. His magic power was increasing at a rate visible to the naked eye. Each infernal golden crow cell was awakening, and his bloodline was improving. Chapter 28:56. The moment all the void monsters were burned to death, the news was quickly sent back to the evil god altar. The evil god minions that were guarding the headquarters found out, and they fell into endless panic. What's going on? What's going on? Why did all the void monsters we sent out die? None of them came back alive. All of a sudden, the void monsters guarding the evil god altar panicked. This was the first time they felt so terrified. One must know that in order to deal with the Green Lotus Hell, they had spent a lot of manpower and gathered more than 1 trillion void monsters. Such a force was unimaginable. No high-level hell plane could defend against so many void monsters. Once the army arrived, all the demons in the Green Lotus Hell would die and be devoured. This battle was definitely foolproof. They just had to wait for the news of victory. However, not much time had passed. Even though they should have just started attacking the Hell of the Blue Lotus, they received news that all the void monsters were dead. What terrified them the most was that none of the void monsters' souls came back alive. What kind of joke is this? What means did those evil demons possess to be able to annihilate our undying soldiers? Even the evil god Altar couldn't save their souls. Why is that? Each of the void monsters was in a state of panic. Honestly, the main reason why they could run rampant in hell was because of their undying bodies. With their bodies, they weren't afraid of death at all. Anyway, even if their bodies were destroyed, their souls could quickly return to the evil god altar to be reborn. But now, after being killed by those demons, even their souls couldn't return. They had completely fallen in hell. There was nothing more terrifying than this. This was the first time they felt so terrified after invading hell. They were more afraid of the unknown. They didn't know what had happened in the Green Lotus Hell. Flames. I saw the scene of those void monsters dying in the evil god altar. Those were endless, dark, golden flames that destroyed everything. Their cries are still echoing in the evil god altar. One of the void monsters cried out in fear. It must be that mysterious demon that controls the demonic god's inheritance. Only it can control the method to destroy us void monsters. What kind of flame is this? Why is it able to cause such great damage to us? Even our souls are destroyed. Even the evil god's altar is unable to protect us. A void monster leader was in disbelief. Before this, probably none of the void monsters were willing to believe that they would die in this hell world. But now that the truth was right before their eyes, they had no choice but to believe it. I'm not sure, but what I do know is that those devils must have grasped a method to deal with us void monsters. They must have grasped the power that can restrain the undying bodies of us void monsters. That's why all the void monsters that attacked the Green Lotus Hell died. Not a single one of them could escape. A void monster leader was trembling. It couldn't imagine how Lord Evil God would punish them if he found out about this. Halt! Immediately halt our operations against the hell of the Green Lotus. Before we figure out what secrets the hell of the Green Lotus is hiding, we can't take action against the hell of the Green Lotus. A leader of the void monsters roared. At this moment, the enemy was in the light while they were in the dark. They didn't know what kind of terrifying power the devils of the hell of the Green Lotus controlled. If they acted rashly, they would only lose more troops. Even if they occupied the space-time tunnel to the hell world, they would have to pay a huge price to transport resources from the evil god Cosmos. At this moment, the evil god Cosmos couldn't bear too much loss. If they lost a large amount of resources, it would definitely speed up the destruction of the evil god Cosmos and cause the entire evil god Cosmos to collapse. Therefore, they had to be extremely careful. I've said it long ago. This hell world isn't simple. Its level isn't any lower than our evil god Cosmos. It contains unimaginable secrets. We have to be careful and definitely can't let those devils obtain the demonic god's inheritance. Otherwise, it will definitely cause an unimaginable disaster. Now it's finally happening. A void monster leader clenched his fists. What nonsense are you talking about? Who doesn't know about this? But this hell world is so huge and boundless. Even if we explored for billions of eras, we still haven't finished exploring it. How can we prevent this from happening? What's the point of saying all this? Another leader hollered in rage. Anyway, report this matter to the evil god and let him decide. This isn't something we can handle. I hope that our headquarters won't be destroyed, otherwise our billions of eras of hard work would have been wasted. One of the Void Monster leaders thought of the worst possible outcome, which was that the demons would attack the Void Monster headquarters and kill them all. If that happened, they would lose this space-time tunnel and wouldn't be able to return to the Hell World. When that happened, all the resources they spent here would be wasted. To the evil god Cosmos, this would be an unimaginable blow, and it would definitely make the evil gods go crazy. They could only pray that the devils in hell weren't as strong as they thought. But no matter what, they had to retract their defenses to prevent the devils from attacking and prevent the worst outcome from happening. As for hell, they could only find out more information before making the next decision. At this moment, within the central palace of hell, Xiaoping devoured the source energy of the massive void monsters. This was an unimaginably huge amount of energy, and it could be said to be boundless. If it was an ancient saint, he would need countless years to cultivate. Now that he had devoured the origin energy, his magic power filled every cell in his body and filled up his 9 seas of consciousness. Dong! Instantly, his body shook and some bottleneck seemed to have been broken. At this moment, he stepped into a new realm. Complete archaic realm. At this moment, after Xiaoping devoured the source energy, he finally advanced from late Archaic Realm to complete Archaic Realm. He reached the peak of Archaic Realm. The spiritual power in his body was vast and boundless at this moment. The 9 worlds were filled with boundless energy, and every cell in his body was filled with dense power of the world. It seemed like he had reached complete Archaic Realm, and there were no flaws left. His body gave off circular power of the world, as if he had turned into a huge circular world. 9 terrifying world domains spread out, distorting the void of hell in all directions, causing densely packed void patterns to appear in the surroundings. Chapter 2857. Whoosh, however, it wasn't a big deal that his world power had reached perfection. With enough time and effort, he would eventually be able to reach perfection. The most important thing was that his world laws had reached perfection. Right now, Xiaoping's Sea of Consciousness had formed 3,000 fragments of the world laws. It could be said that he had reached perfection in his world laws. There were no more flaws. It seemed that he was just one step away from breaking through to the invincible realm and comprehending the laws of life and death. Rumble, with Xiaoping's body as the center, his soul power spread out, covering an area of 80 million light years. It could be said that his divine sense had expanded from 40 million light years to 80 million light years. His soul power had doubled. This was an extremely shocking improvement. Although it was just a minor advancement, the further one cultivated, the greater the difference between a minor realm and a minor realm. It was so huge that it couldn't be measured by distance. The 9 world domains on his body covered the entire Hell's Void in 9 different directions. It was as if the projections of the worlds had descended. Right now, these world domains weren't just projections. They seemed to have solidified, as if they had turned from illusory to real, becoming a real world. The laws within the 9 worlds were becoming more and more complete. Mountains, seas, rivers, deserts, lands, and so on appeared. Countless universe origin laws flowed here. These world domains were extremely powerful. Once they covered the enemy, it was like summoning 1,000 worlds to attack. The enemy would be instantly crushed into powder, leaving nothing behind. It could be said that thanks to this improvement, the world power on his body had become even more terrifying. It had doubled in strength compared to before, and its power could be said to be boundless. His 5 clones also broke through at the same time and reached perfection of the Archean realm. If it was the current Xiaoping, he would probably be able to shatter the laws of life and death of ordinary invincible saints with a single punch. They wouldn't even have time to change their power. This was the terror of absolute power. All laws would be crushed into powder. Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. But for Xiaoping, the greatest improvement was still the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. Because he had obtained a huge amount of origin energy from burning these void monsters. This ability was the greatest improvement to the Golden Crow of Hell bloodline. The infernal Golden Crow cells in his body were awakening at a crazy rate, causing his infernal Golden Crow bloodline to become even denser, revealing a dark golden color. At this moment, the color of Xiaoping's blood had completely changed, turning into a dark gold color. Every drop of blood seemed to flow with endless Golden Crow runes, as if there were golden crows of hell living in it. Any drop of dark golden blood that fell could turn into a boundless sea of flames, or even the sun of hell, emitting eternal heat and burning away all impurities. It wasn't just his blood that had changed. Even his bones had undergone heaven-shaking, earth-toppling transformations. They had been tempered into godly bones that contained deathless godliness and were covered with numerous magical symbols of hell. They radiated an ancient and noble aura, as if they were gods that had existed since time immemorial. If Xiaoping died now, his body wouldn't decay even after millions and millions of epochs had passed. It would still retain its powerful vitality and vitality. 10 million, 100 million, a billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, a trillion, Xiaoping felt his heart beating. Every awakened infernal Golden Crow cell surged with a large amount of infernal Golden Crow source energy and large amounts of infernal Golden Crow flames. The awakening of the infernal golden crow cells seemed to be endless. Only when he finished swallowing all the void monster's source energy did the awakening of the infernal golden crow cells stop. But at this moment, his body had awakened 1,000,000,000,000 infernal golden crow cells, which was 10 trillion. One must know that he had awakened 6 trillion infernal golden crow cells before, and now he had awakened 10 trillion. This meant that he had an increase of 4 trillion infernal golden crow cells. This was a terrifying number, but from this, one could see how beneficial the void monster's source energy was. Moreover, these were just the normal dependents of the evil gods. If he could burn an evil god to death, he didn't know what realm he would reach. This, just as Xia Ping's infernal golden crow cells reached 10 trillion awakened, he felt the cells vibrate, and a large amount of bloodline information flowed through them. His body shook, and he instantly received a message from the depths of his consciousness. At this moment, a new bloodline ability was born in his body, future foresight. The Golden Crow race had a famous nickname called Crow's Mouth. Good things didn't come true, but bad things did. Basically, when a crow cried, bad things would happen. In truth, this was the Golden Crow race's supreme talent. They could sense the arrival of misfortune. But such talent wasn't enough for the Golden Crow race to avoid misfortune. After all, they could only sense misfortune slightly, but they didn't know what exactly it was. But after it evolved into the infernal Golden Crow, it absorbed endless hell's source energy and the power of destiny, causing its bloodline ability to change drastically. It went from foresight of misfortune to foresight of the future. This was a qualitative change. As long as one used this bloodline ability, they could foresee days, years, or even tens of thousands of years into the future. This foresight ability grew along with their cultivation. With this ability, the infernal Golden Crow was invincible. It seized countless opportunities and grew quickly. Future foresight. In an instant, Xia Ping felt his body shake, and his soul seemed to merge with the river of destiny. He looked down at the fates of all living beings, peeking at the trajectory of destiny. Countless scenes of destiny appeared in the depths of his consciousness. Not only could he see his own destiny, but he could also see the destiny of all living beings in hell and the future a few days later. Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He saw that because of his infernal Golden Crow bloodline, he had suffered a heavenly tribulation. The entire hell of Green Lotus had leveled up, and countless demons had benefited. There were also some scouts from the evil god universe near the hell of Green Lotus. They seemed to be afraid of this failure, so they didn't dare to launch a large-scale attack. They all withdrew their forces and returned to defend the old nest of the evil god altar. It could be said that for a long time in the future, as long as these void monsters didn't discover his secret, they wouldn't dare to launch a large-scale attack on the hell of Green Lotus or other planes of hell. And the hell world would welcome a rare period of peace, and the demons would have an unprecedented chance to breathe. Chapter 28:58. Walala, in that instant, the entire hell of the Green Lotus was filled with dark clouds. Layers upon layers of dark clouds gathered together, making them look like mercury. Waves of terrifying lightning tribulation energy were brewing in the depths of the dark clouds. A vortex seemed to have formed in the center, producing a terrifying spiral force. It was like the eye of the lightning tribulation. Such a terrifying heavenly might descended upon the entire Green Lotus hell, causing countless demons to shiver in fear. Even the invincible demons were trembling in fear. It was as if a single bolt of lightning could strike them half to death, or even turn them into ashes. What is this? Some invincible demons looked at the clouds brewing in the sky in fear. They had lived for so long, but they had never seen such a lightning tribulation. It was as if all the tribulations of the world had gathered together, emitting a destructive aura and power. Moreover, the clouds had already enveloped the entire Green Lotus hell. There was nowhere for them to hide. Don't worry, Master is going through his tribulation. Some demons from the burning hell had seen something like this before, so they weren't surprised at all. Tribulation? What does that mean? Many demons were dumbfounded because they had never seen such a thing, and they had never gone through a tribulation. It seems like the demonic god bloodline and master is too dense, causing the world to be jealous. He was punished by the heavens. Only by going through the lightning tribulation can he obtain the recognition of the origin of hell. Otherwise, he will be turned into ashes by the lightning tribulation. One of the demons said, something like this happened. Many demons were speechless. They were in awe. To be honest, they had seen demons with the demonic god bloodline before, such as the hell elephant and the hell dog. But they had never experienced anything like this. It was impossible for them to attract the attention of the origin of hell. I'm afraid that Master's strength is too monstrous. Ordinary demons can't do anything even if they want to. Some demons were in awe inside. The other demons couldn't help but nod their heads. Fighting a demigod as an immemorial realm cultivator was an earth-shattering achievement. They had never seen a demon this powerful before. After all, the difference between the immemorial realm and the demigod realm was just too great. It was almost impossible to challenge a demigod realm cultivator. However, their master was able to do it. This was enough to prove how monstrous their master was. They really did not know how strong their master would be if he were to advance to the demigod realm. This lightning tribulation is so huge. Master should be fine, right? An invincible demon said worriedly. Don't worry. Who do you think our master is? His battle prowess is unparalleled, and he has the support of the essence of the Green Lotus Hell. There's no way he can overcome the lightning tribulation. We'll just watch from the side. Indeed, even if we wanted to help, it would be impossible. It is said that for such a lightning tribulation, the more others help, the stronger it will be. Helping is not worth it. I think we should stay further away. Perhaps Master will be fine, but we will be affected. Perhaps we will be struck to death by the tribulation lightning and reduced to ashes. That is indeed the case. Although we are not tribulation fiends, if we were to get too close, we might be affected. Many demons couldn't help but nod. They subconsciously distanced themselves from the center of the heavenly tribulation. If they were struck to death by the lightning tribulation, it would be too unjust. Moreover, the power of the thunder tribulation could restrain the demons, so they couldn't resist it at all. At that moment, Xiaoping stood in the middle of the tribulation clouds, right below the eye of the thunder. In fact, no matter where he went, the eye of the thunder would follow him. It's the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements, and it has reached 1,080 levels. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could sense the terror of the thunder tribulation in the sky. It was the famous thunder tribulation of the 5 elements, which contained the power of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It could be said to be the top thunder tribulation in the world. When it came crashing down, the power of the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements would shatter everything. It seemed to have the power to create the universe and recreate the world. Even saints of the invincible realm would find it hard to resist the terror of the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements. More importantly, the power of the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements had reached 1,080 levels, which made the power of the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements evolve to its peak, containing the power to destroy heaven and earth. The thunder tribulation is indeed getting more and more insane. Xiaoping took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Even though the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements was extremely terrifying, he wasn't afraid at all. In fact, he was even tempted to give it a try. That was because he had gone through countless terrifying thunder tribulations ever since he started cultivating. Even though the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements was extremely strong, it was just one of them. Moreover, his cultivation base had reached the perfected immemorial realm, and his strength was many times stronger than before. Naturally, he wouldn't be afraid of the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements. Rumble, in the blink of an eye, the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements rained down from the sky. Gold, green, blue, red, yellow. 5 different colors of the thunder tribulation struck down at the same time, seeming to contain the power of life and death of the 5 elements. It was as though a world of the five elements was crashing down, shattering the entire world into pieces. Go! In an instant, Xiaoping had his world tree clone appear with a single thought. It stood in midair, and the massive world tree blocked all the thunder tribulation of the five elements in an instant. The power of the thunder tribulation of the five elements bombarded the world tree clone, immediately tempering the world tree clone. At the same time, the world tree devoured and absorbed the power, not harming the world tree clone at all. Whoosh! It seemed that this scene made the heavenly tribulation even angrier. In an instant, billions of thunder tribulation of the five elements exploded, covering a radius of tens of thousands of light years. It was like a sea of thunder tribulation, spreading like a flood, crushing everything. However, at this moment, the Kunpeng clone appeared. It looked like a blue whale, and as soon as it appeared, it emitted the aura of an immemorial god. It opened its mouth and swallowed all the thunder tribulation of the five elements in an instant. Countless terrifying thunderbolts bombarded the surface of its body. If it were an ordinary creature, it would have been killed by the power of the thunderbolts, electrocuted into charcoal. However, the Kunpeng clone contained the power of invulnerability and could devour everything. The thunderbolts could not harm its body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the next second, Gaia's avatar, the Hell's Divine Elephant avatar, and the Hell's Golden Crow avatar also appeared. They stood in 3 different positions and surrounded Xiaoping. They exuded an extremely powerful aura that shook the void. The 5 clones seemed to form a perfect shield protecting the body. No matter how terrifying the thunder tribulation of the 5 elements was, it could not penetrate the 5 clones and harm the body. Chapter 2859. 10 days and 10 nights passed in the blink of an eye. In the Green Lotus Hell, the 5 elements lightning tribulation had struck Xiaoping for 10 days and 10 nights. The 1080th wave of the 5 elements lightning tribulation was simply earth-shattering. The surrounding mountains and other places within a radius of tens of thousands of light years collapsed where Xiaoping was, creating a huge crater that covered tens of thousands of light years. The 5 elements lightning descended and turned into lightning liquid that flowed in the crater. As a result, the place turned into a boundless 5 elements lightning ocean, forming a unique secret realm. The demons in the Green Lotus Hell trembled in fear at the sight. Fortunately, it was finally over. The extremely thick tribulation clouds in the sky finally dissipated and the sky returned to its original clarity. The omnipresent aura of the tribulation also blended into the depths of the hell's void. I finally passed the tribulation. At that moment, Xiaoping stood in midair. His body was also tattered and charred. His hair was standing on end, making him look like an African refugee. The other 5 clones were the same. They were all tattered and looked very wretched. After all, it was 1080th wave of the 5 elements lightning tribulation. It would be extremely difficult for any demigod to withstand it, let alone a primordial saint. Therefore, it was impossible for one to not be injured by such a tribulation. Even so, Xiaoping's eyes were still bright and filled with a terrifying light. Although he looked wretched, the essence blood in his body was extremely vigorous. He was not injured at all. In reality, this was both a tribulation and an opportunity. After being tempered and hammered by the 5 elements lightning tribulation, Xiaoping's main body and 5 clones were fully tempered, making his body even stronger. His body contained the source energy of the 5 elements lightning tribulation. Taking advantage of this lightning tribulation, his body was able to devour even more of the lightning tribulation's power. It was as if the endless power of the law of lightning was flowing through his meridians. At that moment, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. Endless laws of lightning flowed in the depths of his consciousness, as well as the countless lightning techniques and chaotic lightning techniques that he had previously comprehended. In the end, he was shocked and had a flash of inspiration. He seemed to have transformed. In an instant, he stood where he was and punched out. The terrifying power of the thunder calamity in his body erupted, forming a terrifying lightning fist that took on a spherical shape. Dong! This punch ruthlessly bombarded a huge mountain in the distance. In an instant, this huge mountain was shattered into pieces and turned into ashes. It produced an extremely terrifying destructive power. It is indeed powerful enough. Xiaoping was very excited. After transcending the 5 elements lightning tribulation, he had combined the chaos lightning art and many other lightning magical arts to create his own divine ability, the chaos lightning fist. This fist technique was created by fusing the laws of lightning, chaotic force, 5 elements force, and space-time force. It was a supreme fist technique. A single punch could immediately draw upon the power of the lightning tribulation laws of heaven and earth and stir the laws of primal chaos, producing unparalleled destructive power that could instantly kill the enemy. Even creatures with extremely powerful defenses could not withstand the chaotic lightning fist attack. This was because the power of the lightning calamity was a power that restrained all things in the world. Even a creature like the Kuan Peng, which was known to be invincible, would be restrained by the lightning calamity. This was a power that was like divine punishment. If it was used against demons from the abyss, demons from hell, or even evil gods and other negative creatures, the threat of the chaotic lightning fist would be even greater. Moreover, it was not only a physical attack, but also a soul attack. A single lightning strike could instantly blast the enemy's soul into pieces and turn them into ashes. It could be said that he had obtained another trump card. The Hell of the Green Lotus seems to have evolved. After transcending the lightning calamity, Xiaoping finally had the mood to care about other things. With a thought, he immediately realized that the Hell of the Green Lotus had undergone a tremendous change. As he had killed 1 trillion void monsters, he had obtained a massive amount of origin energy from the evil god universe. Although he had devoured a portion of it, most of the origin energy had been absorbed by the Hell of the Green Lotus. As such, one could imagine the benefits that the Hell of the Green Lotus had obtained. Compared to 10 days ago, the area of the Hell of the Green Lotus was more than 10,000 times bigger than before. Moreover, it was still expanding. This was not the final form of the Hell of the Green Lotus. Moreover, due to the strengthening of the Hell's origin energy, the land of the Hell of the Green Lotus had become stronger. In the past, the invincible demons could still cause massive destruction in the Hell of the Green Lotus. However, it was no longer possible now. Even if the invincible demons fought with all their might in the Hell of the Green Lotus, they would only be able to cause damage to a small area. Moreover, this was under the situation where they went all out. If they didn't go all out, they might not even be able to topple a mountain. Even the invincible demons were in such a state. One could imagine the other demons. They couldn't even leave a mark on a rock. This was the strength of the Hell of the Green Lotus. It can't be. The Yellow Springs River has also strengthened. What shocked Xiaoping the most was that the Yellow Springs River underground had evolved along with the Hell of the Green Lotus. The Yellow Springs holy water seemed to have increased as a result. Massive Yellow Springs River surged underground, expanding the area underground. This also made the Yellow Springs River even more vast. It seemed like it could turn into the Yellow Springs River and not just a river anymore. One day, it might turn into the Yellow Springs Sea and turn into a boundless Yellow Springs Sea. Thanks to the expansion of the Yellow Springs River, the Yellow Springs River, which was originally full of demons, was no longer so crowded. It could accommodate more evil spirits. Of course, the expansion of the Yellow Springs River had great benefits to the Hell of the Green Lotus. This feeling seems to be the aura of a demon god. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could sense that the Hell of the Green Lotus source was extremely strong. It was much stronger than before. It was on a completely different level. As the Hell of the Green Lotus evolved, it was obvious that the high-level Hell could no longer accommodate it. Because of this, it was evolving crazily towards the demon god plane. It seemed like after a period of time, the Hell of the Green Lotus would grow into a demon god plane. In fact, the other demons could also sense the changes. They felt that their cultivation speed was getting faster and faster. They were evolving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even the demons with low-grade bloodlines felt that they were improving at a godlike speed. Clearly, During the process of the Hell of the Green Lotus evolution, they had also obtained great benefits. He had a feeling that if the Hell of the Green Lotus advanced to the demon god plane, he might be able to peek into some of the secrets of the demon god. Chapter 2860. A few days later, in the central palace of the Green Lotus Hell, Xiaoping had been cultivating in seclusion for the past few days. Through this period of cultivation, he could be considered to have stabilized his skyrocketing cultivation base, completely stabilizing it at the perfected immemorial realm. He was just one step away from breaking through to the demigod realm and mastering the law of life and death. Of course, he had also awakened 1 trillion infernal golden crow cells in his body. The bloodline in his body was extremely dense. If he awakened 1 trillion cells, the infernal golden crow bloodline in his body would be completely awakened. He's already reached the peak of immemorial realm. Xiaoping sighed with emotion. He didn't expect himself to advance to this realm so quickly. Compared to him at the beginning, he was much, much stronger. It could be said that he was already standing at the pinnacle of the universe. Other than the gods, no one could do anything to him. Moreover, it wouldn't take long for him to completely inherit the Golden Crow's bloodline and completely unseal all the Golden Crow's cells. It's about time to head to the Fiend God universe to take a look. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. After this period of cultivation, his strength had increased by too much. Although he might not be able to fight against the evil gods, with the treasures he had on him, he could at least ensure that he wouldn't die. To be honest, his understanding of the evil god universe was still too little. If he didn't understand the evil god universe, he wouldn't know the details of this enemy. This would be very disadvantageous for the future war. Once the infernal world was completely devoured by the evil god universe, the modern world might also be affected by the evil god universe, causing an unimaginable disaster that was even more terrifying than the Abyss invasion. Therefore, he had to head to the evil god universe to investigate the situation. Of course, he was not unprepared for this. Firstly, the authority of the true demonic god allowed him to change his identity and even deceive the origin laws of the universe. This way, even if he entered the evil god universe, he wouldn't be discovered by the evil gods, and he wouldn't be targeted by the universe origin. This was the best ability for a spy. Secondly, he also had the formless mask, which could conceal his aura and change his appearance. In the end, even if he encountered great danger, he could use the wish compass to escape. It could be said that he had all kinds of tricks up his sleeves and was in an invincible position. However, before heading to the Fiend God universe, I still have to refine a large number of Nether God demonic curses. Xiaoping waved his hand, and the power of his bloodline condensed into an underworld god talisman. This was the underworld god talisman that made countless invincible demons submit. The reason why he needed to condense so many nether god demon curses was because he wanted to give them to those invincible devils. The plan to abduct invincible demons from other hell planes had yet to be completed. It could be said that this was only the beginning, and the plan was still ongoing. After all, his goal was to unify the entire hell world. This was the best plan. As long as he controlled all the invincible demons in the hell world would naturally belong to him. Of course, there were some high-level planar lords, but their subordinates were under Xiaoping's control. Therefore, they weren't much of a threat at all. Therefore, this plan could not be abandoned halfway. In order for the plan to proceed smoothly, even if Xiaoping left, he had to condense a large number of nether god demon curses and give them to the invincible demons to handle. If he tricked the invincible demons into the hell of the Green Lotus, there was no need to trick them. As long as the invincible demons in the hell of the Green Lotus subdued the invincible demons and planted the nether god demon curses in them, they would naturally become his dependents. There was no need for him to show up personally. In the past, the invincible demons might not be able to deal with other invincible demons. But now, the invincible demons in the hell of the Green Lotus had held treasures, and their strength had increased by several times. Moreover, with a group of invincible demons ganging up on them, he believed that no matter how strong the invincible demons were, they would fall for it. If this snowball continued, sooner or later, all the invincible demons in the hell world would become Xiaoping's dependents. After a few more days, Xiaoping had condensed tens of thousands of Nether God talisman amulets. He believed that with so many Nether God talisman amulets in hand, he would definitely be able to subdue enough invincible demons. Yes, it's time to head to the nest of the void monsters. At the thought of this, he spoke to Luna and directly left the hell of the Green Lotus, flying toward the nest of the void monsters. At this moment, Xiaoping's speed was extremely fast. With a single thought, he could cross a distance of 80 million light years. Even invincible sages would not be able to match his speed. Even though the nest of the void monsters was very far away from the hell of the Green Lotus, it would not take him too long. In just a day's time, he arrived at the outer region of the void monster's nest. Of course, he wore the formless mask, concealing all of his aura. Otherwise, he would probably be discovered by the power here the moment he got close to the nest. Is this the nest of the void monsters? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He saw a huge lair in the distance. It was like a huge and boundless beast lying in the void of hell. In terms of size, this nest was probably not much smaller than the hell of the Green Lotus. Its entire body was pitch black, and it emanated gloomy, evil, darkness, blood, chaos, death, and other auras. It was like an evil body from the abyss, containing the power to distort everything. If a normal life was here, their soul would probably be distorted by this terrifying, evil power. This was the power of the evil god. It was indescribable, 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 indescribable. Only Xiaoping, who had grasped the power of the golden crow of hell's bloodline, could look at the nest here without any effort. So many void monsters. Xiaoping activated the golden crow of hell's eyes, as though he could see through all illusions. Tens of thousands of light years were covered by his gaze. It was like the eyes of a god high above, seeing everything clearly. He could see many void monsters returning from the outside, and they were all gathering in this nest. Endless evil aura spread out from this place, making one's heart tremble. Just the void monsters that he could see with his naked eyes were probably more than the void monsters that attacked the hell of the Green Lotus previously. Clearly, this was all the military strength of the evil god's nest. Moreover, these void monsters were still being created endlessly. Let's go in and take a look. However, if he stayed outside, Xiaoping would not be able to see anything. If he wanted to know the true secrets of the void monsters, he had to enter the nest of the evil god. So, thinking about this, he didn't hesitate. His body flashed, and he instantly attached himself to one of the void monsters that returned to the nest. One must know that the surface area of the void monsters was extremely huge, like a sun. Xiaoping was just a normal human, and when he attached himself to it, he was like a speck of dust. He was so small that he wouldn't be discovered at all. Sogu website, Chapter 2861. Xiaoping had just attached himself to one of the void monsters. That void monster couldn't sense anything. Many of them were gathered together and chatting. "Brother, what is going on? Why did the headquarters suddenly call us back?" A void monster's head was filled with confusion. It had discovered a low-level hell plane and was planning to devour it. Who knew that, with an order from the headquarters, they would all return? It could only give up on this hunt. It can't be. You still don't know about this? Something big happened recently. The higher-ups did an operation and planned to attack a high-level hell plane. It's called Green Lotus Hell. I heard that they gathered 1 trillion void monsters. A void monster said, "Everyone thought that the operation would be a success. Who knew that they were all wiped out? Not even a single void monster was able to escape." You must be joking. They didn't even return? Didn't they say that we have undying bodies? Even if we are killed by the devils, our souls can be reborn in the evil god altar. Some void monsters were shocked. Don't talk about it. Because of this, I heard that the devils have a way to destroy our souls. They can kill us instantly and prevent our souls from returning to the evil god altar to be reborn. It can't be. If we don't have undying bodies, what advantage do we have against the devils? Many void monsters were terrified. The reason why they could roam hell was because of their undying bodies. If they lost their undying bodies, they would definitely be heavily injured. That's why the headquarters told us to quickly return to defend in case anything happens to our lair. Once the space tunnel here is discovered by the devils, or even destroyed, our many years of planning will be over, right? Currently, the headquarters wants to investigate what power those devils have. Before they find out, all void monsters are to return to await orders. Looks like we can't go out and cause trouble. What is the background of that green lotus hell? Why is it so terrifying? The void monsters discussed among themselves, and their faces were filled with fear. So. They didn't hesitate. As they spoke, they entered their lair. Did they go in? Xiaoping raised his brows and listened to the void monsters. To be honest, the process of him entering the void monster's lair could be considered a daunting experience, but not a dangerous one. Any void monster that entered their lair would be scanned by the power of the evil god to confirm if there were any enemies following them in, and if there were any invaders. However, by relying on the power of the faceless mask, Xiaoping was able to hide in the depths of the dimension. Even the power of the evil god could not find Xiaoping's true body. Therefore, it could be said that he had entered the nest without any mishaps. However, in Xiaoping's opinion, this kind of inspection procedure was a bit like a routine, and he didn't pay much attention to it. This was because the void monsters had invaded the infernal world for a very long time. Since ancient times, no demons had ever been able to invade this nest, and no demons had ever been able to come to this place. This made them a little careless and let down their guard. In reality, there were no demons that could withstand the corrosion of the evil god's power. Once they entered their lair, they would probably be quickly distorted and forcefully transformed by the evil god's power, becoming the evil god's kin. And this power was actually similar to the power of demon god, like the golden crow of hell. Perhaps this was the power of the gods, and it could unconsciously influence the bloodline of non-god life forms, forcefully transforming other life forms into their own kin. Unless a mortal had the bloodline of a god, they would not be affected by other gods. However, the bloodline influence of the evil god was different from the golden crow of hell. The bloodline influence of the golden crow of hell was benign and gradual. It would not affect the soul and personality of other life forms. However, the evil god could easily distort the souls of mortals, causing them to fall into a state of madness. Moreover, they were extremely brutal. Once they could not accept this power, they would immediately explode and die. This was probably the power that originated from the evil god itself. Their divine power was madness, chaos, evil, and also brutal. Therefore, the bloodline influence was also extremely terrifying. It was not like other gods that were gentle and sustainable. This is the nest of the void monsters. Xiaoping swaggered into this place. With the power of the formless mask, no void monsters would be able to discover his whereabouts. Moreover, his body size was extremely small compared to the void monsters. He was like a speck of dust. Who would care about the dust on their body? They did not have any intention of doing so. Therefore, although he was in the enemy camp, he was very safe. After a period of exploration, he realized that although this was the nest, it was no different from a great thousand world. It was like a superwar fortress. It seemed like this place was divided into a few regions. One was the resting region, which was where the void monsters rested. One was the production region, which was where the void monsters were created. One was the evil god altar. This was where the void monsters' souls could be reborn. This place could communicate with the power of the evil god. The other was the space-time tunnel. This place was also their most important place. It was heavily guarded and was responsible for transferring resources from the hell plane back to the evil god plane. Also, the experts of the evil god universe would use this tunnel to come to the hell plane. This nest is alive. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. His golden crow eyes of hell could see through everything, and he was shocked to discover that this void monster's nest itself was a terrifying weapon of war. Once it awakened, it would probably possess the power of a demon god. However, this nest had long been fixed at this place and could not be moved. It was the most important weapon in protecting the space-time tunnel and could not be moved recklessly. After all, once the space-time tunnel was broken, all the plans of the evil god universe would be over. Therefore, this place was naturally extremely important and could not be lost. This nest is devouring the power of hell's source. Xiaoping clenches fists. He also saw billions of void roots extending from the nest. They took root in the void of hell and devoured the energy of hell's source. This devouring speed was slow but uninterrupted. No matter how slow it was, no matter how immense the power of hell's source was, after countless years of devouring, it still caused the hell world to suffer heavy losses. Honestly speaking, with so many invincible demons born in the hell world, there should have been a demon god born long ago. However, because the monsters of the evil god universe kept devouring the energy of hell's source, it slowed down the evolution of the hell world. This resulted in no demon god born in the hell world. Chapter 2862. Let's head to the space tunnel to take a look. Xiaoping resisted the urge to destroy this place. Once he destroyed this place, it would be hard for him to find another space tunnel to head to the evil god universe. Since they could reach hell world, then naturally he could head to the evil god universe to obtain benefits. This was what they meant by reciprocation. If he destroyed this place, he would alert the enemy and attract the attention of the evil gods. Then, it would be hard for him to enter the evil god universe. So, Xiaoping concealed himself and followed the other void monsters forward, arriving at the location of the space-time tunnel. This place was a huge, empty space. Many strange-looking void monsters were gathered here, and there were huge statues of evil gods placed around them. These sculptures seemed to have god power as they unconsciously gave off all sorts of evil, dark, and twisting powers that formed the evil god domain. Moreover, this power enveloped the entire square, covering every corner. Everything that didn't belong to the evil gods would be twisted and corrupted. This was an indescribable and terrifying power. Fortunately, Xiaoping's formless mask could hide his aura, and the Hell Golden Crow bloodline could block the distortion of evil god power. Otherwise, he would have been noticed the moment he entered this place. I have to be careful, otherwise I might be noticed. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He sensed that these sculptures contained a thread of evil god power. They pierced through hell world and were constantly scanning. If he did anything weird and was noticed, then he would definitely end up in a tragic state. But he had done too many things like sneaking into other people's nests, and he was used to it. His mental fortitude had increased by several times, and naturally, he wouldn't be shaken by such a small thing. Is this the space tunnel? Xiaoping looked ahead. At the deepest part of the square, there was a giant black gate. It seemed to be a space gate, and there were all sorts of evil god diagrams carved on it. There were numerous evil god runes, and they contained terrifying space-time powers. It seemed like this space gate connected hell world and the evil god universe. After these void monsters arrived at the space-time tunnel, they seemed to have stayed where they were, waiting to be inspected. Beams of dark, evil god light enveloped them, causing the bodies of these void monsters to turn illusory, revealing the space within their bodies. It seemed like their stomachs were dimensional bags that could be filled with many things. Their bellies seemed to be filled with all sorts of resources that they had plundered from all over hell. Clearly, these void monsters had devoured countless resources from all over hell. Most of them were not eaten by themselves, but brought back here to send the resources back to the evil god universe. I see. Xiaoping immediately understood why they were doing this. It was because things from other universes, even if they looked good on the surface, still needed to be inspected. In particular, the invasion of species could be a huge disaster for this universe. This was because hell species basically had no natural enemies in the evil god universe. If they accidentally entered the evil god universe, they would cause great damage to the ecosystem and reproduce continuously. To begin with, the evil god universe was already extremely weak. If they were to do something like this, it would speed up the destruction of the evil god universe. Hence, these evil god dependents were extremely cautious. Even if they brought back a large amount of resources from the infernal world, they still had to check it over and over again to prevent species from the infernal world from invading the evil god universe and causing an irreversible disaster. In fact, the evil god Cosmos had also experienced an extremely painful lesson, which was why they had implemented such an inspection measure. Back then, they had accidentally brought back some hell grass seeds from the infernal realm. These were weeds that grew in the infernal realm. They were completely red like blood and looked extremely beautiful. After these hell grass seeds entered the evil god universe, they actually sprouted on many lands. One could imagine the outcome. These plants that could survive in hell were extremely strong. The moment they entered the evil god universe, they quickly reproduced. In just a short year, they covered numerous regions. How could the plants that lived in greenhouses compare to the hell grass that lived in hell? The dense forest instantly died. Only the hell grass could survive. They could even swallow the nutrients of the land, causing the land to dry up. Moreover, they weren't afraid of being burned by flames. They could even swallow flame energy. Some evil god dependents tried to wipe out the hell grass, but they were unable to do anything. The hell grass that formed was really terrifying, like a hell trap. Once evil god members entered, they would instantly tie them up and swallow their flesh and blood. This would allow the hell grass to grow stronger and stronger. One could imagine the outcome. Due to the overflow of hell grass, many pieces of land became the territory of the hell grass, forming an absolute forbidden region. At the same time, the evil gods couldn't bear to destroy the land here, as the evil god universe was already weak. If they destroyed more land, it would speed up the destruction of the evil god universe. So, they could only allow the hell grass to grow. Anyway, to the evil god universe, it was just another terrifying plant. At this moment, many places in the evil god universe still had hell grass growing. But due to such a lesson, they suffered heavy losses. They remembered this matter and stopped the invasions from other universes in case they brought a huge disaster. Invasions? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. If he wanted to speed up the collapse of the evil god universe, then he had to make things worse. That might be a good idea. He remembered that there were some terrifying beings in hell like the hell ants. These beings had really strong life force and grew really quickly. Billions of hell ants would appear, and once they appeared, they would form a natural disaster. Everywhere they passed, everything would turn into barren land. They ate everything and swallowed everything. If there were enough of them, the entire world would be eaten by them. Moreover, hell ants' defense and attack were off the charts. They might be weak individually, but when there were billions of them, they were unbeatable. They could reflect all techniques, flames, ice, and everything else were useless against them. Fortunately, hell had beings that countered hell ants. Otherwise, the entire hell would be their world. But hell ants had no enemies in the evil god universe. If such a species was placed in the evil god universe, it would definitely bring them huge problems. Xiaoping had actually collected many of such hell ants and placed them in the classic of mountains and seas world. But under the green cow's control, the hell ants weren't able to form a large scale in the classic of mountains and seas world. Chapter 2863. But this was just Xiaoping's idea. As for how to do it, he would only know after entering the evil god universe. As they had waited for a long time, these void monsters seemed to be chatting casually. "Brother, how are your gains this time?" A void monster asked and looked at his companion. "Not much. Recently, the number of low-level hell planes have been decreasing and they are getting further and further away. Sometimes, it takes a long time to find one." A void monster shook its head. It expressed that the market wasn't good and their gains were decreasing. That was because they would get a commission from the resources they plundered. The more they plundered, the more benefits they would get. So naturally, they were all really enthusiastic. "Stupid, what benefits are there in the low-level hell planes? The demons there are all poor, and even if we kill them all, we won't get any benefits. If we really want to get rich, we have to head to the middle level or even the high-level ones." The void monster at the side disdainfully said, "Kiki, do you think I don't know? But those high-level ones are hard to break, and we won't get many benefits even if we fight to the death. If we can break them, then why would I bother with those low-level ones?" The void monster laughed. It wasn't a fool, and everyone knew that there were many benefits in the high-level hell planes. The problem was, were such benefits so easy to get? Especially those high-level hell planes where there were many strong demons and they had strong defenses. Even if the void monsters were strong, they would need a long time to break through. More importantly, to break through the high-level hell planes required a large number of void monsters. Once there were too many of them, their wealth would decrease by a lot. Moreover, they wouldn't get much commission from such a battle. If that was the case, then they might as well search for the low-level hell planes and take all the benefits. That's right. It's not that safe to attack the higher planes of hell. I heard that the headquarters gathered 1 trillion void monsters and planned to attack that green lotus hell. In the end, they were all wiped out. Not a single one of them managed to escape. That was a huge loss. Now the headquarters and the evil god are furious. They want to investigate the higher-ups who gave the order. I heard that a few of the higher-ups were executed by the evil god because of this. A void monster said in a low voice. It can't be. I heard about it too. At first, I thought it was a joke. I didn't expect it to be true. Did those demons really find a way to deal with the evil god's minions? Many void monsters at the side also pricked up their ears, feeling extremely curious. They must have found it. Otherwise, how could 1 trillion void monsters die so easily? Not even a single soul managed to escape. This is too terrifying. I don't even know how many years it has been since we suffered such a loss. A void monster shook its head and sighed. I have long heard that this hell world is extremely terrifying. It is said that in the last epoch, many demon gods were born there, and they're not inferior to our evil god universe. Another void monster said gravely, even if these demon gods have fallen, who knows what kind of trump cards they left behind? Even if they obtained a terrifying god artifact, it's still enough to heavily injure us. Its expression was really solemn because the strength of gods was extremely terrifying. Even if they had fallen, they could still cause endless threats. This was the lesson they learned from opening up many universes. It seems like I can't come to Hell World for the time being. I should apply for a transfer to attack other universes. That way, it will be safer. Otherwise, if the demons of Green Lotus Hell find us, we won't even know how we died. Many void monsters said with a hint of fear. That's right. Before we know how those demons kill us, it is best if we stay in the headquarters and don't head out. Otherwise, it won't be us hunting demons, but the demons hunting us instead. Some void monsters couldn't help but nod their heads. Okay, stop chatting here. It is your turn to inspect. Hurry up and don't disturb my rest. An inspector hollered. When he saw these void monsters dawdling, he was a little annoyed. I'm coming. When they heard that, many void monsters walked forward. So, at this moment, Xiaoping's figure flashed and immediately appeared on top of the fur of one of the void monsters. His body was like a tiny dot to these void monsters, an existence akin to a flea. Void monster number, NHG 9900. There are no problems with the inspection. Go on in. An inspector scanned, and after finding no problems, he waved his hand and let the void monster at the front enter the spatial tunnel. Okay, brother. Thank you. See you next time. A void monster greeted them before entering the space-time tunnel. Rumble in the next second, Xiaoping followed the void monster into the space-time tunnel. After entering the spatial tunnel, Xiaoping's eyes widened. He realized that the spatial tunnel was transparent and showed the situation outside. Outside the spatial tunnel was a boundless chaotic world. Terrifying chaotic air currents filled the place, and this power seemed to be able to destroy everything. Ordinary life forms would be instantly destroyed if they entered the chaotic void. Even ordinary sages couldn't survive in such a chaotic void. If they wanted to survive, they would have to be at least in the immemorial ancient realm. Of course, they could barely survive. If they encountered any terrifying monsters in the chaotic void, they would probably be swallowed in one bite and die without a complete corpse. He took a closer look and found that there was nothing in the chaotic void, as if nothing existed. Even with the golden crow's eye of hell, he couldn't see anything. Everywhere was filled with nothingness, as if it was a dead void. No wonder even the evil god that can travel the chaotic void took a long time to find a new universe. So the chaotic void is so huge? Xiaoping felt that his horizons had been broadened. He thought that the universe was huge enough, but compared to the chaotic void, it was just a tiny dot. One universe after another was scattered around the primal chaos void, just like a speck of dust. Walala, the void monster traveled in the spatial tunnel at an extremely fast speed. It seemed to be supported by the space-time force of the spatial tunnel as it traversed the entire tunnel at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, 7 days and 7 nights passed. After a long time, it finally reached the end. This is the evil god universe. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked at the vast universe at the end of the spatial tunnel. However, this evil god universe was clearly different from the hell world. It emitted extraordinary energy and aura. Chapter 2864. It really is an extremely evil universe. Xiaoping stared at the evil god universe. Although he couldn't see the entire evil god universe and could only see a part of it, it was enough to display the tip of the iceberg of the evil god universe. The evil god universe was completely black and filled with chaotic, distorted, evil, dark, and other energies. Terrifying dark energy wrapped around it and kept tumbling. Every wisp of dark energy seemed to be alive. Ordinary life forms wouldn't be able to withstand such chaotic and evil mental pressure. They would go crazy and their brains might even explode. Just like the information, it is indeed on the verge of extinction. It's time for the next reincarnation. Xiaoping activated the Hell Golden Crow's eye and discovered that the supposedly perfect heretic god universe was now filled with densely packed holes that connected to the chaotic void outside the universe. It was like a planet that had many holes in it. Many places had collapsed. From the depths of the evil god universe, there was an aura of decay and destruction. It was like an old man who was about to die of old age. If they didn't obtain enough universe source, the evil god universe would probably be destroyed. By then, all life forms in the evil god universe, including the evil gods, would die. It was no wonder that the evil gods were so crazy and reckless. Of course, the so-called destruction was relative to the lifespan of the universe itself. If it was relative to the lifespan of mortals, even if billions of eras passed, the evil god universe wouldn't be in danger of destruction. It could be said that mortals wouldn't even have the chance to witness the destruction of the universe. Only the undying gods would worry about such things. Boom! At this moment, the void monster that Xiaoping had possessed finally reached the end of the space-time tunnel. In an instant, he appeared in the evil god universe. Oh no, I'm being targeted. Is this the feeling of being rejected by other universe sources? In an instant, Xiaoping sensed that there was malice everywhere around him. It was like the entire universe was targeting him. It was like a mysterious and powerful force of origin was trying to expel him. However, his cultivation was only at the perfected archaic realm. To the evil god universe, he was just a small dot. Only gods would be worthy of the attention of the universe source. Moreover, the evil god universe was in its twilight years and wasn't as terrifying as it was at its peak. Therefore, its power against external enemies had been weakened by many times. Even so, his power was still suppressed by the evil god universe's source by at least 50%. It was no wonder that life forms from different universes had to be extremely careful when entering other universes. After all, the suppression of strength was too severe. If they encountered a strong opponent, they would probably die. Moreover, if they offended the universe source, they would be targeted by the universe source. They would definitely be met with misfortune. At this moment, he could sense that an endless aura of misfortune was gathering towards him. I am a being of the evil god universe. In that instant, Xiaoping did not hesitate and immediately circulated the authority of the true demon god. Instantly, a supreme demonic god's power enveloped his entire body, seemingly distorting the origin laws of the universe. It was replacing origin laws of origin. It was God universe, of God universe source power. It was as if Xia Ping's aura had completely changed and fused with the Fiend God universe, causing him to become a life form of the Fiend God universe. It was as if he had been born in the Fiend God universe. If he God of God, of God, he had it one. He of is a fake of a world. It can't be. He really succeeded? Xiao Ping's eyes widened. He found it unbelievable. The power of God universe was too terrifying. It was no wonder he was once one of the strongest demon gods in hell. This god power that could deceive all laws of the universe was amazing. If the evil god had such power, how would not have survived for so long? It would have been devoured by the evil god universe the moment it was discovered. The more he thought about it, the more he realized how powerful the true demon god was. He wondered how such a demon god had fallen. The flow of time in the evil god universe is different from hell and the main universe. As a primordial sage, Xia Ping quickly sensed that the flow of time in the evil god universe was different from his own universe. In fact, it was normal for different universes to have different flow of time. Some had faster flow of time. Some had slower flow of time. Universes like hell and the main universe had the same flow of time. That was rare. He narrowed his eyes and sensed the laws of time and space. He got the ratio of the flow of time between the evil god universe and the main universe. Without a doubt, the flow of time in the evil god universe was much faster. A day in the main universe would be 100 years in the evil god universe. This was a terrifying ratio of time. It meant that if he stayed in the main universe for a few days, a few hundred years would pass in the evil god universe. On the other hand, even if a few thousand years passed in the evil god universe, only a few dozen days would pass in the main universe. The flow of time in the evil god universe is very fast. It seemed like I can stay here for a long time. Xiao Ping touched his chin and felt very satisfied. If he operated the eternal clock, he could adjust the flow of time. The problem was that it would consume a huge amount of energy. Even if he was rich, he could not afford such consumption. However, it was different in the evil god universe. He did not need much energy. Moreover, he was a primordial sage. He had an eternal lifespan. He did not need to care about the consumption of time. He did not need to worry about dying of old age. Let me study the situation of this place first. Xiao Ping narrowed his eyes and started to explore this place. At this moment, in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, what's going on? The internet has been disconnected. Tan Menglu, Chong Xiaoqian, and the others shouted. Their faces were green like plants. They were fighting a crucial group battle and were about to be wiped out. However, the internet had been disconnected at this moment. It was unforgivable. They were filled with anger. It must be the regent. That bastard doesn't like us going online every day, so he disconnected us. Chong Xiaoqian gritted her teeth. This won't do. We have to find Master to solve this problem. We can skip meals, but we can't skip the internet. Tan Menglu shouted. The other Gaia Lolas could not help but nod in agreement. They could not imagine a life without the internet. It was worse than being in jail. Chapter 2865. Swoosh. At this moment, the green ox appeared beside Tan Menglu and the rest. Grandpa, what's going on with the internet? Why is it suddenly disconnected? Can you fix it quickly? When Chong Xiaoqian and the rest saw the green ox, they immediately looked for him like a broken computer player looking for the network manager to solve the problem. Oh, it's like this. Master has gone to another universe. The internet won't be able to be restored in a short period of time because there's no signal in another universe. The green ox explained. Another universe? Hearing this, Chong Xiaoqian, Tan Menglu, and the Gaia Lolas were confused. They had no concept of the universe, let alone other universes. It's like this. The green ox explained the concept of multiple universes to them. What? This bastard master has gone to another universe? How can he run so fast? And he even disconnected our internet? What should we do now? Tan Menglu's face turned green. She didn't care about going to another universe. To her, it was just a change of location. It wasn't a big deal. The most important problem now was that they had no way to go online. It was as if they had gone to a backward place without any signal. They were simply cut off from the world. Originally, there was no signal in the hell world. However, After the black hole worm race opened up a spatial tunnel, they seemed to have introduced the universe virtual network signal into the hell world. That was how they could go online in hell. However, there was no way to go to the evil god universe. All the signals had been disconnected. It can't be. He went to another universe. The Gaia Lolas were stunned. They couldn't imagine that there were so many universes in this world. Furthermore, they were only living in one of them. It was an eye-opener. Furthermore, the other party had left their universe. Even the leader of their Gaia race couldn't do such a thing. What kind of terrifying person were they following? All of them were dumbfounded. That's right. Disconnecting the internet is a very serious matter. Can you get the regent to come back quickly? What's so good about going to another universe where there's no internet? Chong Xiaoqian shouted. I'm afraid not. Master won't be able to come back in a short period of time. The green ox shook his head. A short period of time? How short is that? Tan Lu keenly sensed this problem. That's because the flow of time in the two universes is different. A day in the modern universe is 100 years in the Fiend God universe. Currently, Master will stay in the Fiend God universe for at least a few hundred years before returning, but only a few days might have passed in the modern universe. The green bull indicated that he would stay for at least a few hundred years. A few hundred years? It's over. It's completely over. I won't be able to go online for hundreds of years. I might as well just die. Tan Menglu and Chong Xiaoqian's faces were ashen. Thinking about how they couldn't go online for hundreds of years, it was like going to jail. No, it was even worse than going to jail. What did they do wrong? Did they have to be treated like this because they like to play games online? To be honest, they couldn't imagine a life without access to the internet. Right? Doesn't the world of the classic of mountains and seas use spatial passageways? We can just run back to our original universe. There's no need to stay in this boring place with that bastard master. Tan Menglu immediately thought of this. This won't do. The spatial passageway can no longer be connected. The green ox shook his head, indicating that there was nothing he could do. The reason why the classic of mountains and seas could connect to different places was because it could sense the spatial node in another place. The two would resonate and form a spatial passageway. However, they were now in another universe, and there was no way to sense the other spatial node. It was as if the signal had been blocked. It was impossible to use the world of the classic of mountains and seas to return to the current universe. Dead, I'm dead. There's no meaning to life anymore. With a thud, Tan Menglu and Chong Xiaoqian fell to the ground. Their faces were ashen, and their eyes had lost their color. White smoke came out of their mouths, and it was as if their souls had ascended to heaven. They were like salted fish, motionless. Seeing this, the green ox felt very helpless. Perhaps he could use this opportunity to cure their internet addiction, lest they continue to fall. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. During this period of time, Xiaoping had been carefully exploring this base. Then, according to the conversations of the surrounding void monsters, he found out that this place was called the Space-Time Palace. It was a base created by the evil god Key of the Door, Ujesothoth, and many other evil gods. It was the only base used to attack the hellish world. In reality, the evil gods weren't in a cooperative relationship. They were in a competitive relationship, and they might even be enemies. They also had different camps. If the evil gods of different camps discovered a new universe, they would occupy it themselves, and the evil gods of other camps wouldn't interfere. Of course, the resources of the newly discovered universe would naturally belong to them. Moreover, Xiaoping also found out that the evil gods in this universe were usually in a deep sleep, or they would leave the evil god universe to find a new universe in the chaos. They usually wouldn't appear. The reason why they were in a deep sleep was because just being awake would consume a large amount of universe energy. This would speed up the destruction of the evil god universe. Therefore, most of the evil gods would hibernate to minimize the consumption of the universe. Only at the crucial moment would the evil god's minions awaken the evil god to fight. Of course, some powerful evil gods weren't willing to sleep, so they would leave the evil god universe to explore other places. If they could find a new universe, they would be able to obtain more resources and slow down the speed of the universe's decline. Apart from that, the structure of the evil god universe was also unique. It didn't have any so-called stars, and it gave birth to many worlds that were scattered in various corners of the evil god universe. It was said that the evil god universe had trillions of worlds, and there were countless living beings in them. Each evil god ruled at least hundreds of millions of worlds. Some powerful evil gods even ruled trillions of worlds, and their territories were extremely huge. All the lives and resources in these worlds belonged to this evil god, and other evil gods weren't allowed to dip their hands in it. If they wanted to dip their hands in it, there would be a god war. If it was in the past, the evil gods would often fight for territories, but now, such situations were rare. To prevent the universe from being destroyed, they were all in a deep sleep and wouldn't easily wake up. Therefore, the territories of the evil god universe had already been divided, and there wouldn't be any more changes. Let's leave this time-space palace first. Xiaoping decided to leave this base and explore the various worlds in the evil god universe. He wanted to find a way to become a god or other cultivation resources. Chapter 2866. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Xiaoping walked around the worlds of the evil god universe. After a year, he had a rough understanding of the ordinary life forms of the evil god universe. In fact, the main life form of the evil god universe was the human race. They occupied the majority and could be found in every world. The problem was that the human race was also the weakest race and could be considered at the bottom. If one had to use a metaphor, it would be food. The evil gods didn't need the faith of humans at all. They fed on fear. The more fear there was, the stronger the evil gods would be. Therefore, they only needed to instill fear in humans and make them fear the evil gods. Because of this, the humans in this universe were extremely miserable. They would be slaughtered by the dependents of the evil gods at any moment. If the evil gods were in a mood, they would swallow the humans of an entire world and turn them into food. Even when the evil gods were in a deep sleep, many anomalies would be born in the various worlds. These anomalies and the dependence of the evil gods would also kill ordinary humans. Ordinary humans had no way of defending themselves. Of course, there were experts among the humans. The problem was that there were too few experts, and they couldn't protect most of the humans. Most importantly, this universe had long been completely corroded by the power of the evil gods. Therefore, if humans wanted to obtain power, they had to be infected with the energy of the evil gods and believe in them to obtain power from the evil gods. The problem was that as weak humans, how could they resist the corrosion of the evil gods' power? Therefore, even if the human experts obtained great power, their lifespans were extremely short. Basically, they would be corroded by the evil gods' power. In the end, their souls and bodies would collapse, and they would become monsters. Therefore, the humans in this universe had no hope. They were creatures that were like food. Food! Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. The evil gods of this universe treated humans as food, and he felt that the evil gods were food. To be honest, after entering this universe, the Hell Golden Crow bloodline in his body boiled and had the desire to devour. He wanted to burn the entire universe and sacrifice all the evil gods. Without a doubt, if he could sacrifice the entire evil god universe, he would definitely be able to raise his cultivation to an unprecedented realm and reach the supreme realm. Of course, he wasn't so stupid as to expose his strength. If the evil gods discovered him, he would definitely die. Currently, he still needed to develop in a wretched manner. He had to ascend to the realm of gods in order to be able to contend against the evil gods. However, even if he couldn't burn the evil god to death, he could still burn the evil god's dependents. These dependents were extremely strong, and many of them were demigod experts. Their bodies also contained a large amount of evil energy, which was very suitable as fuel. If he could burn most of the evil god's underlings to death, his cultivation would definitely improve tremendously. He might even be able to break through to the demigod realm in one go. In his eyes, the entire Fiend god universe was a treasure trove. It was simply a supreme cultivation ground. If it's just me, the efficiency will be too low. Looks like I'll have to create some infernal golden crow dependents and have countless subordinates help me burn these evil god dependents to death. Then, I'll take the opportunity to devour large amounts of origin energy. Xiaoping touched his chin. He thought of a way to increase the efficiency, and that was to create a large number of infernal golden crow dependents and have them spread throughout the evil god universe. If there were enough dependents, even if each of them sacrificed one of the evil god's dependents, it would still add up to a tremendous amount of energy. This was using the power of all living beings to cultivate. Also, if the targets were scattered, he would be less likely to expose himself. Using the humans of this universe to deal with the evil gods would also accelerate the destruction of the evil god universe. On the world of Dalos, there was a small village where hundreds of people lived. There were too many such villages in this world. But at this moment, the quiet and peaceful village leader was destroyed. Flames were burning everywhere, broken walls were everywhere, bodies were everywhere, and blood flowed like rivers. Dense cracks appeared on the ground. A horrifying weird bird appeared. It looked like a bird, but its head was like a horse's head. Its wings were like those of a bat, and its body was even larger than an elephant, covered in scales. Its skin was filthy, and its claws were very powerful. Its cries were as ear-piercing as scratching glass. It was tearing the bodies on the ground and seemed to be enjoying its dinner. It was the Sciatak weird bird, a subordinate of the evil god. At this moment, a middle-aged man, whose face was covered in blood, knelt on the ground in grief and wailed with wounds all over his body. Why? Why exactly? Lord Sciatak, our village has been offering tributes day and night. Why did you kill everyone in our village? The so-called tributes were human beings. Because the strange birds liked to eat people, the people in the village chose to send out a person every few days as food for the strange birds in order to survive. It was a reward for their lives. But even so, no one knew how many people they sent to die as food, but the Sciatak weird bird still killed everyone in the village. I'm hungry. The Sciatak weird bird glanced at him and said lightly, Hungry. Hearing that, the middle-aged man clenched his fists so hard that his nails dug into his flesh. Even though blood flowed out, he did not feel any pain. Because no matter how painful his body was, it was not as painful as the pain in his heart. Because the Sciatak weird bird was hungry, his elderly parents, his beautiful wife, and 2 lovely children were all dead. All dead. They were all eaten by the Sciatak weird bird. He could still see the broken limbs on the ground, as well as the blood splattered all over the ground. Just because you're hungry, you kill my entire family and slaughtered my entire village. What kind of F***ing joke is this? The middle-aged man shouted angrily. He was incomparably furious. He had endured for decades, always bowing and scraping, enduring humiliation, but even if he had endured until the end, there was no way for him to survive. Bootlickers always got nothing in the end. The Sciatak weird bird said it was hungry, and the entire village died. All the effort he had put in and all the humiliation he had endured had been in vain. Why were humans treated as food by these monsters and crushed to death like ants? Why? Angry? Food can be angry too. You're just humans. You're just our food. But you dared to attack me. This is a crime punishable by death. I will eat you, the Sciatak weird bird said calmly. The strange bird said calmly. To it, this was a matter of course. Whether the other party was angry or happy, it had nothing to do with it. Sogu website. Chapter 2867. It's over. It's dead. That's good too. Father, mother, wife, child, I'm coming to see you. But even if I die, I'll at least bite off a piece of your flesh. When the middle-aged man saw the strange bird attack, his face turned ashen. He knew he was no match for this monster. He couldn't hurt it even if he used all his strength. Even so, he had to show his anger. He was going to die anyway. What was there to be afraid of? Dong! At that moment, a figure descended from the sky. A big hand grabbed the strange bird's head and slammed it into the ground. A huge crater was created. What? The middle-aged man's eyes widened in disbelief. He knew how terrifying the strange bird was. Even if a normal human used all his strength, he wouldn't be able to hurt it. However, the person who had suddenly appeared had slapped the strange bird to the ground as easily as smashing tofu. What kind of monstrous strength was that? Before he could figure out what was going on, he saw a dark golden flame appear in the figure's hand. Rumble. In the next second, the strange bird's body was burned by the flame. The strange bird let out a shrill scream. It was more miserable than a pig being slaughtered. It didn't take long for the strange bird to be burned to ashes, leaving no bones behind. It's dead? It died just like that. The middle-aged man swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He couldn't believe his eyes. This terrifying monster that could easily slaughter an entire village was actually killed by this mysterious human so easily. No, he had been burned to death. He had been burned to ashes. This mysterious person was none other than Xiaoping. Do you want to have power? Do you want to kill these monsters with your own hands? Xiaoping came in front of the middle-aged man and said directly, "What?" The middle-aged man was shocked. His heart was in turmoil. Countless thoughts appeared in his mind, but he only said 3 words. "I do." At that moment, he understood. It didn't matter if this human was a demon, a god, or if he wanted to use him or do something else. He wanted the power to kill these monsters. Anyway, his home was gone, his family was gone, his wife was gone, and his children were gone. But he was still alive. He wanted revenge. He wanted to take revenge on these monsters who regarded humans as ants. Even if he were to die now, he would drag a few monsters down with him. He wanted to let those monsters know that humans were not food that they could easily kill. That's good. Xiaoping gently tapped the middle-aged man's forehead with his finger, and a drop of dark golden blood immediately seeped into the deepest part of his body. Rumble. In an instant, the middle-aged man felt that his body was filled with power. His injuries were completely healed, and even the blood in his body began to burn. Dark golden flames were emitting from every pore of his body. His entire body seemed to have turned into a man of fire. Such flames seemed to be able to incinerate everything. However, the middle-aged man did not panic. Instead, he felt a sense of security. It was as if the power of this flame originated from the deepest part of his bloodline and was a part of his power. "Why did you give me power? What kind of power was this? What do you need me to do?" The middle-aged man looked at Xiaoping and suppressed the excitement in his heart. If he had such power in the past, the people around him might not have died. But he also knew that it was not so simple to obtain power. He had to pay a price. This is the power of the Furnace Lord. It requires its believers to sacrifice all evil creatures as a reward. The more evil creatures you sacrifice, the greater the reward you receive. Xiaoping explained. He wanted to call himself the Lord of Hell, but after careful consideration, he could not reveal his identity. Otherwise, the evil gods would know that enemies from other universes had come to their universe and would search for them. When that happened, he would be in big trouble. It did not conform to the principle of wretched growth. So, he changed to a more suitable name and called himself the Furnace Master. It was indeed suitable. It could burn all evil creatures and smelt everything. Sacrifice evil creatures? We're evil creatures. The middle-aged man was stunned. Evil ghosts, evil spirits, evil gods' minions, and even evil gods. Xiaoping said, "What? Evil god?" The middle-aged man was shocked and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He had also heard that there were many evil gods in the world, and the believers had also offered many sacrifices. However, all of them are the most precious treasures in the world, or human beings, or something like that. He had never heard of a god in the world who needed those evil creatures as sacrifices. Moreover, they wanted to sacrifice evil gods. Just how terrifying were they? Without a doubt, this was a terrifying god that ate evil gods. His greatness exceeded his imagination. Waves rose up in the depths of his heart. "Right, what is your name?" Xiaoping looked at the middle-aged man. "I am Brower." The middle-aged man said solemnly. "Very good. Remember, you're not allowed to say anything about the Furnace Master. Otherwise, you will definitely die." Xiaoping took out the cause and effect book and recorded the middle-aged man's name. Instantly, the cause and effect book recorded the middle-aged man's name and established a cause and effect relationship. Once Brower leaked news about the Furnace Master, he would instantly die. Once he was on the life and death book, his life and death would be up to the heavens and not him. This was also Xia Ping's method to reduce the chance of exposing his identity. Even if one of his dependents was captured, he wouldn't be able to expose his news and the exact location of the Furnace Master. Of course, he had benefits too. At least after he was on the life and death book, he wouldn't be affected by the evil god's power and wouldn't be easily tracked. I understand. The middle-aged man nodded his head seriously. He knew how terrifying the god was. Once he called his name, he would be sensed, and no matter where he fled to, he would definitely die. As a life form from the evil god universe, he knew about such laws. Very good. Xia Ping pointed, and instantly he was enlightened. He imparted a portion of the middle-aged man's cultivation techniques, combat techniques, and also how to create the Furnace Master dependence. Actually, as long as one had a bit of Hell Golden Crow bloodline, one would become a dependent. This was the terrifying, corrosive ability of the demon god bloodline. This was why even dependents could be created. As more and more evil god dependents and beings were sacrificed, the bloodline in their bodies would get thicker and thicker, and they would become stronger and stronger. Chapter 2868. When the number of Hellcrow dependents in this universe increased, he wouldn't need to do it himself. It would be like a rolling snowball, one leading the other, constantly growing stronger. With a thud, the middle-aged man, Brower, groaned and fainted on the ground. It was obvious that his soul couldn't handle so many memories, so he temporarily fainted. However, when he woke up, he would be fully recovered. In fact, Xia Ping had found thousands of dependents like Brower in this world. They were scattered all over this world to be the seeds of the furnace. As long as these seeds completely grew, they would quickly germinate. That's right, I still have to leave hell ants in this world. Xia Ping waved his hand, and a chubby hell queen ant immediately appeared in his palm. This was also the origin of the hell ants. The huge hell ants were all born from the hell queen ants. There were many similar hell queen ants in the world of the classic of mountains and seas. There were billions of them, and they were constantly multiplying. At the same time, he had also forcefully turned these hell queen ants into dependents and integrated them with the nether god curse. Therefore, these hell ants could be considered his capable subordinates. Originally, these hell ants were creatures from the hell world and would be targeted by the Fiend god universe's origin. However, Xia Ping had used the power of the true demon god to deceive the origin laws of this universe, causing the hell ants to become the native creatures of this universe. Therefore, the Fiend god universe's origin would not continue to target the hell ants. Go and reproduce in this world. There are no natural enemies of the hell ants in this world. Therefore, every underground corner of this world is the territory of the hell ants. Xia Ping said to the hell queen ant, "Yes, master." The hellish mother ant was excited. A world without any natural enemies was simply a paradise. To the hellish ant race, this was unparalleled good news. Whoosh! In an instant, Xia Ping waved his hand and immediately sent the hell queen ant into the deepest part of a cave in a mountain. Currently, the hell queen ant was at its weakest. When it grew billions of hell ants, it would be able to sweep everything. Moreover, they basically ate everything. They ate soil, iron, living creatures, lava, nether ghosts, and evil spirits. They were not picky at all. No matter where they went, they would be able to survive. As long as they were given enough time, they would be able to grow quickly. The number of hellish ants couldn't exceed 100 million. If there were more than 100 million, they would be invincible. In this world, with the Furnace Lord's dependents as seeds and the hellish ants as backup troops, it wouldn't be long before this world would be completely ruled by him. Moreover, most of the evil gods in the evil god universe were in deep slumber. They wouldn't wake up easily, so now was the best time to poach them. When these evil gods awaken, the entire universe will change. There will be followers and followers of the Furnace Lord everywhere. All right, let's go to the next world. With a thought, Xia Ping scanned the entire world and immediately decided to head to the next world. After all, there were trillions of great thousand worlds in the evil god universe. He had only laid the foundation in one of the great thousand worlds. and it was far from being the beginning. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. During the past 3 years, Xiaoping had transformed into tens of millions of clones. As the master of the furnace, he had traveled through millions upon millions of worlds, spreading the seeds of the furnace and the hellish ants. Because of that, the hellish golden crows were everywhere. Although these dependents hadn't fully grown up, they had already started to show their prowess in various worlds. They had burned numerous evil god dependents to death. As the hellish golden crow, the master of the furnace, he had obtained huge benefits. Endless source energy surged over, causing the many hellish golden crow cells in his body to awaken. One could say that he had obtained huge benefits this time, and his strength had increased crazily. Master, there is a problem. Just at that moment, Xiaoping was planning to continue spreading the seeds to increase dependence, but the green cow's voice rang out in his mind. What happened? Xiaoping asked. Come in and take a look. Chong Xiaoqian, Tan Menglu, and the others have gone crazy. The green cow's voice was filled with helplessness. Crazy? What is going on? Thinking about this, Xiaoping's body flashed, and he returned to the classic of mountain and sea world. Instantly, he saw Chong Xiaoqian, Tan Menglu, and a few Gaia Lolas fishing by the river. This was totally unprecedented. When did these Lolas learn to fish? This was unheard of. He understood what the green cow was worried about right away. It seemed like they had indeed gone crazy. Oh, Master is here. Tan Menglu glanced at Xiaoping indifferently. Then she focused on fishing. What are you all doing? Xiaoping's mouth twitched. As Master can see, we are fishing. Tan Menglu gave off the aura of an enlightened monk. She seemed to have seen through the mortal world, and her aura seemed to have merged with heaven and earth. Fishing? Why aren't you fishing? Why aren't you going online? Xiaoping asked. When they heard the word online, Tan Menglu, Chong Xiaoqian, and the other Lola's body shuddered. But very quickly, they calmed down. Go online? What is going online? Something like the internet is just a cloud to me. It doesn't matter. Only fishing can bring us peace of mind. Tan Menglu's words were filled with wisdom. That's right. Ever since I stopped going online, I realized that this world is incomparably beautiful. The sky is so blue. The trees are so green. Even the world is so vast. I can go on excursions with my friends, fish, pick flowers, climb mountains, fly kites, and so on. After leaving the internet world, my life suddenly became vivid and fulfilling. Chong Xiaoqian sighed, expressing that her life had been very fulfilling recently. Previously, she went online every day and spent money playing games. It was a waste of time, life, and money. Now, she was a little regretful. Life now was so good. It was simply rich and colorful. It didn't consume money, and it was green and environmentally friendly. She felt that her moral cultivation and mental state had improved a lot. Then why don't you bring bait when you go fishing? Xiaoping acutely sensed that there was a problem. This is called taking the bait willingly. Do you know how to fish? All you do is kill and destroy flowers and plants. You don't even know how to cultivate your emotions. You're just a boorish man. Chong Xiaoqian said in disdain. That's right. This is the supreme realm of fishing. People like you who have never fished before will not understand. Tan Menglu also looked down on Xiaoping. The other Gaia Lolas also nodded vigorously. Didn't you eat all the bait just now? Little Gold blinked and looked at Tan Menglu. What bait? That's a snack. Even though she was exposed, Tan Menglu's expression did not change. Chapter 2869. Cough, cough. Hearing that, Xiaoping coughed. I see. I was a little worried that you guys would have psychological problems after not going online for so long. I didn't expect you guys to have reached the level of a monk. Looks like I underestimated you guys. Master, you're being too serious. It's just the internet. It's not that I can't do without it. It's that the internet can't do without us. Tan Menglu waved her hand, indicating that she was no longer the girl who was addicted to the internet. After 4 years of being disconnected from the internet, she had already seen through the world. It was nothing without the internet. It's just the internet. Without Butcher Zhang, you won't be able to eat pigs? Chong Xiaoqian said in disdain. She had already adapted to the world without the internet. As a king, Her self-control was extremely strong. That's good. After all, we might have to stay here for a few thousand years. Looks like you guys have adapted to the world without the internet. I'm relieved. Xiaoping was very satisfied. Just as Xiaoping finished speaking, Chong Xiaoqian and Tan Menglu fell to the ground. They seemed to be unable to take it anymore. Their eyes rolled back and they foamed at the mouth. They fell to the ground and kept convulsing. It's over. Big Sister Menglu is going to die. Sister Xiaoqian's mind is severely injured. She's in danger. Pinch her philtrum. Quick, pinch her philtrum. When the Gaia Lola saw this, they immediately screamed and panicked. They pinched their philtrum and gave them mouth-to-mouth resuscitation before they were saved. Sob, why did you save me? In a world without the internet, I'd rather die. At this moment, Tan Menglu woke up and wailed, Bastard Master, do you know how I've been living for the past 4 years? It's been like a year. This is hell. No, a place even scarier than hell. In this godforsaken place, there are no games to play, no newbies to abuse, and no netizens to brag. Who doesn't know that netizens are all geniuses? I've been looking at the blue sky and white clouds for 4 years. I'm sick of it. Now you're telling me that I have to watch for a few thousand years? You might as well just kill me. You're a demon. Regent, let's go back. This is a godforsaken place. I don't want to be a king anymore. I can abdicate my throne to you. Chong Xiaoqian hugged Xiaoping's leg and cried. The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. Not only did the 4 years of disconnection not solve their addiction, it even worsened their condition. Didn't you say that you don't need the internet? Xiaoping said. Bullsh asterisk T. It's all bullsh asterisk T. In fact, without the internet, every day feels like a year. I can't even stand a second. Tan Menglu expressed that she wasn't going to act pretentious anymore. She had been bragging just now. That's right, I can testify. Sister Menglu used to eat over 100 tons a day, but now she's only eating 99. 9 tons. She's in a bad mood and is starving. Chong Xiaoqian raised her hand to testify. I can tell. Xiaoping was speechless. That's why we should hurry back. What kind of bullsh asterisk T universe is this? There's no internet or games. It's not good at all. Tan Menglu and Chong Xiaoqian looked at Xiaoping helplessly. It's hard to go back. That space-time tunnel is currently occupied by Evil God Universe's evil god. I can't go back in a short period of time. Xiaoping found an excuse because he hadn't completed his plan. How could I want to go back so quickly? We're dead. We're completely dead. Chong Xiaoqian and Tan Menglu lay limply on the ground. Their faces were ashen, and they seemed to have no strength left in them. But it isn't like there's no way. Just at that moment, Xiaoping changed the topic. Way? What way? Chong Xiaoqian and Tan Menglu opened their eyes wide and stared at Xiaoping. That is to open a new space-time tunnel to connect Evil God Universe and Hell World. That way, we can avoid Evil God surveillance and enter Evil God Universe and Hell World freely. Xiaoping gave them an idea. Then, what are we waiting for? Let's open it up. Tan Menglu's eyes lit up, and she was a little eager. Right? It is just digging a space-time tunnel. My black hole bug race is good at digging space-time tunnels. This is just a small matter for black hole bugs. Chong Xiaoqian shouted. She expressed that this was the talent of her race, and it was just a small matter. No, you guys are too weak. The distance between universes is very far. Moreover, there are chaotic currents that can obliterate all matter. At the very least, you have to advance to the primordial saint realm, or even the primordial saint realm to be able to do this. Xiaoping shook his head. Then, let's advance. Right, even if we die, we have to dig a space-time tunnel. Whoever dares to stop us from going online, we will kill them. Chong Xiaoqian and Tan Menglu gritted their teeth and gave off a vengeful aura. Right, we can help too. The few Gaia Lolas shouted too. Me too. Little Gold cheered from the side. When he saw that, Xiaoping's mouth twitched. Before this, he had thought of many ways to make the few of them cultivate hard, but no matter what he did, it was to no avail. If they weren't eating and sleeping, they were playing games. But now, for the sake of going online, the few of them were totally crazy. It was as if they had unprecedented motivation and wanted to raise their strength. Truthfully speaking, he wasn't lying. In truth, Evil God Universe was in a state of destruction, and there were space-time wormholes everywhere. Using these wormholes, one could head to other universes. But to head to other universes, the most important thing was the space-time tunnel. Without a stable and hidden space-time tunnel, one would be wiped out by the chaotic energy currents. He didn't have time to do such things, and there was no need. After all, he could use the space-time tunnel that Evil God opened at any time. But if Chong Xiaoqian and Tanming Lu were willing to help and had the strength to help, naturally, it would be better to open up a new, hidden space-time tunnel. That way, even if he destroyed the space-time tunnel that Evil God built, he could use other tunnels to enter Evil God Universe. Moreover, it would be safer that way. It was like opening a back door to Evil God Universe. Moreover, the Black Hole Worm did have such strength, especially the Black Hole Worm King. Her talent was unprecedented, and after merging with the Hell Golden Crow Demon God bloodline, it totally changed her talents. She could definitely open a space-time tunnel in the chaotic space. But in the past, she spent all her time gaming and wasted her talent. But if she cultivated again because of this matter, she would definitely be able to raise her cultivation quickly. Moreover, Xiaoping had large amounts of time fruits, space fruits, world fruits, etc. They could increase their strength quickly. Since that is the case, then I will leave this to you. Xiaoping smiled. Don't worry, it is just a space-time tunnel. We will deal with it quickly. Chong Xiaoqian, Tanming Lu, and the few other Lolas shouted loudly, and they were filled with confidence. Chapter 2870. Brother. At that moment, Gaia and Dumbo appeared beside Xiaoping. Dumbo, you're awake? Xiaoping smiled. He sensed that Dumbo's strength had improved a lot compared to before. She had advanced to the peak of the Middle Ages Saint Realm. Her cultivation speed was many times faster than the other Gaias. This was also thanks to the Golden Crow of Hell's bloodline in her body. It enhanced her aptitude, making her Gaia aptitude surpass all the previous Gaias. After all, even if Gaia was the darling of this era of the universe, it was impossible to compare to an ultimate demon like the Golden Crow of Hell. The Gaia race only had the potential to become an ultimate race, but did not mean that they would definitely succeed. However, the Golden Crow of Hell had become an ultimate existence. The two could not be compared at all. In terms of bloodline power, it surpassed Gaia by leaps and bounds. At the same time, the multiple evolutions of the classic of mountains and seas had given her great benefits. This is Gaia. It's Gaia. Seeing Dumbo appear, the Gaia Lolas were dumbfounded. They did not expect to see another Gaia in this place. Moreover, it was not a predecessor born in Gaia Paradise, but a member of the race who had wandered outside. However, although this was very rare, it did not mean that it would not happen. After all, the birth of Gaia was a miracle of the universe. Even the predecessors of the Gaia race did not know how Gaia was born. It was normal that they did not know of Dumbo's existence. After all, Dumbo had been in a deep sleep and had never met these Gaia Lolas. At that moment, they looked at each other. Although they did not know how this human contracted Gaia, it seemed that Sister Gaia had not been mistreated. Immediately, they had a good impression of Xiaoping. Yes, I just woke up because I suddenly sensed that I seem to have come to a place full of disasters. I feel that this place seems to be of great benefit to my cultivation. Gaia Dumbo said. I see. Xiaoping immediately understood why Dumbo had woken up. This was because Dumbo's talent was disaster. She controlled the endless disaster laws and could devour the endless power of disasters. The more natural and man-made disasters there were, the more it could strengthen Dumbo's power. And in this world, was there a disaster more terrifying than the collapse of a universe, the destruction of the universe, and the reincarnation of eras? The evil god universe was facing an extremely terrifying disaster, and everywhere was filled with the aura of disaster. One could imagine the benefits of such a place for Dumbo. If Dumbo could devour enough disaster energy, there would be no bottlenecks in her cultivation. She might even be able to become a sovereign god who could control disaster energy. At that time, Wherever she went, all disasters would retreat. With a single command, the enemy would instantly suffer countless disasters. "Let me help with the matter regarding the space-time tunnel," Dumbo said. Although she did not know how to excavate the space-time tunnel, she could help to resist the disaster that would occur during the excavation. After all, digging a stable space-time tunnel, especially in the primal chaos void, was dangerous. "That's great, big sister. You're still the most reliable at crucial times." With a swoosh, Taminglu flew over and hugged Dumbo's thigh, constantly flattering him. With my Grand Marshal of the Armed Forces making a move, the matter has been settled." Chong Xiaoqian gave Dumbo the title of Grand Marshal of the Armed Forces. However, Xiaoping did not interfere in this matter and let them act on their own. At the same time, he also used the power of the true demon god to conceal their aura, so that they would not be targeted by the evil god universe's origin. In the blink of an eye, several hundred years had passed in the evil god universe. During this period of time, Xiaoping had traveled through billions of Great Thousand Worlds. His footprints covered every corner of the Great Thousand Worlds, leaving behind countless furnace seeds, which gave birth to a large number of infernal Golden Crow dependents. At the same time, these infernal Golden Crow dependents were constantly developing and taking in large numbers of disciples. It could be said that the number of dependents was increasing at a geometric rate. In just a few hundred years, these dependents had already gained considerable influence in various Great Thousand Worlds. They had even made a name for themselves and were known as furnace wizards by the world. Many evil god dependents, evil spirits, monsters, and other creatures were extremely afraid of these furnace wizards because the flames on their bodies could easily burn them to death. Such flames were like the natural nemesis of evil creatures. In the past, they had been tyrannical and used humans as food, causing many worlds to enter an era of darkness and ignorance. Countless humans had led extremely miserable lives. What they relied on was their evil body and their undying body. Weak humans couldn't even cause them any harm, let alone resist. However, it was different now. The flames on these furnace wizards could burn everything. Once they came into contact with them, they would die without a doubt. Even their souls would be burned to ashes. One could imagine how much these evil creatures feared the furnace wizards. Originally, these evil creatures wanted to exterminate the furnace wizards. However, the speed at which the furnace wizards grew was simply too fast. As long as they burned these evil creatures to death, they would be able to strengthen the power of their bloodline, causing their strength to increase greatly. It could be said that it did not take long for the furnace wizards to grow into the experts of their respective worlds. If not for the fear of the evil god, who knew how many evil god dependents would have been burned to death. During this period of time, the hell ants had also developed greatly. Every sector had a nest of hell ants, and their numbers reached trillions. They simply covered the underground of a large world, and they'd obviously become overlord-level beings. Everywhere they went, it was simply like the end of the world, and they swept through everything and completely devoured all living beings and matter. Because the furnace wizards and the hell ants were both dependents of Xiaoping, they had a natural affinity with each other. To a certain extent, the furnace wizards could also borrow the power of the hell ants. Therefore, with the terrifying power of the hell ants, the furnace wizards had escaped disaster after disaster, causing countless enemies and forces who tried to exterminate the furnace wizards to die. Due to the efforts of these furnace wizards, Xiaoping also took the opportunity to devour a large amount of cosmic origin energy, allowing his body to store a huge amount of energy. At the same time, his cultivation rose to the peak. He was just one step away from comprehending the law of life and death and becoming an invincible saint. In fact, without the efforts of these furnace wizards, he did not know how long it would take for him to accumulate enough energy to become an invincible saint after burning so many evil god dependents. Chapter 2871. Due to the large increase in the number of furnace wizards, it attracted the attention of many evil god dependents. The appearance of furnace wizards, in particular, greatly threatened their survival. D*****, where did these furnace wizards come from? I'm not sure. Until now, we haven't found out where their power comes from. It must be the power of some evil god. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so terrifying. It's simply restraining all our powers. They're just humans, but they actually dare to grasp power that can threaten us. They're asking for death. Many evil god dependents gritted their teeth. They were very unhappy with the appearance of furnace wizards because they were the only ones who could grasp power in this world. Other creatures were just ants and food. They couldn't grasp any power. Kill them. We must kill these furnace wizards. Some evil god dependents hollered in rage. They hated these furnace wizards to the bone. No, these furnace wizards are too cunning and very strong. They can even challenge those of a higher level. The flames on their bodies are extremely terrifying. If dozens of furnace wizards gather together, they can even sacrifice powerful monsters. Legend has it that they can also control the terrifying monsters that have been flooding the various worlds recently. Some evil god dependents were very helpless. They had long wanted to wipe out these furnace wizards. But the problem was that these furnace wizards not only grew extremely fast, but they could also challenge those of a higher level. They even grouped up and attacked in groups of tens or hundreds. Countless evil god dependents had died in the hands of these furnace wizards. One had to know that monsters were still rare in the evil god universe. The race with the highest population was humans. If they exchanged monsters for monsters, no matter how one looked at it, the evil god dependents would be at a disadvantage. Most importantly, being a furnace wizard did not seem to require much aptitude. Anyone could become a furnace wizard and control the terrifying power of fire. This profession completely treated the evil god dependents as cultivation resources. It seemed like as long as they killed them, they would be able to rapidly increase the power of the furnace wizards. This made the furnace wizards even crazier. Anyway, these evil creatures and evil god dependents were natural enemies of humans. Killing them was the duty of humans. Now, killing these guys could actually increase one's strength. It could be said that many furnace wizards had appeared all over the world to hunt monsters. In the past, when humans encountered freaks, monsters would always avoid them. But now he actually took the initiative to look for them, hunting them everywhere. Instead, they were scared into hiding. What kind of joke was this? Evil god. There must be a powerful evil god behind these furnace wizards. Otherwise, these humans wouldn't be able to control such power. An evil god follower roared. This is no longer something we can solve. Let's report this to the evil god. As long as the evil god personally takes action and captures the evil god behind the furnace wizards, these furnace wizards will lose their source of power and become obedient food. This world will still be the evil god's world. Mere humans won't be able to do anything. An evil god's follower laughed coldly. I had planned to awaken Lord Evil God before, but he is still in a deep slumber and cannot be awakened for the time being. We can only deal with this matter on our own for now. No way, Lord Evil God is still asleep. When will he wake up? No one knows. After all, it's normal for Lord Evil God to sleep for thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of years. The faces of the evil god's followers became solemn. Naturally, they knew that. To Evil God, just a nap would take a few thousand years. A few hundred years wasn't enough for him to wake up. As his followers, they didn't dare to disturb his sleep. Once he was furious, they would all die. The problem was that they didn't expect the furnace wizards to develop so quickly. In just a few hundred years, their strength could compare to some ancient organizations. That was just too terrifying. They didn't dare to believe that if this continued, how terrifying would the furnace wizards become? But there was nothing they could do. Without Evil God's help, they could only solve it themselves. No matter what, they had to kill all the furnace wizards. From that moment on, many Evil God minions started to fight back and started a war with the furnace wizards. The flames of war spread everywhere and many battles broke out. It was really intense. Many of the furnace wizards and Evil God followers died. At that moment, mountain and ocean world. Just a little bit more, and I will reach half-god realm. Xiaoping's eyes shone brightly. He could feel that his body was filled with an extreme amount of magic power. Every single cell in his body was filled with boundless origin energy. He felt like he could level up at any moment. The world law power in his body was basically full. At that moment, he felt like he could touch the essence of life and death laws. He sensed the power of life and death. In truth, as the Lord of Hell, he could sense the power of life and death. Hell itself was the place where life and death intersected. There was no place that had more death and life power than hell. Hell was the end of all life and also the beginning of life. No, I can't do it now. Before I reach half-god realm, I have to cultivate the origin clone technique. Xiaoping sensed that if he were to advance to the demigod stage and successfully cultivate the origin doppelganger technique, he would have to pay a huge price. Moreover, he had already successfully condensed 5 doppelgangers. He was only 4 away from completing his cultivation. In reality, he had already decided on his 6th clone, which was the Taotai clone. This was the power of Tanmeng Lu, and the Taotai divine beast was also an extremely powerful creature. Its power was not to be underestimated, and it had the ability to devour, making it very suitable for his 6th clone. Even so, he still had 3 clones that he had yet to form. He had to find the blood that was suitable for the 3 clones. Fortunately, the evil god universe didn't have many things. There were many creatures with all sorts of special bloodlines, and the evil god universe had given birth to many strong creatures and evil gods. Especially those evil gods. They were no weaker than the demon gods of hell. Their bloodlines were extremely strong too. If he could get the bloodline power of those evil gods, he would definitely be able to make Xiaoping's origin clone technique perfect. It would also greatly increase his power. Fallen Godland. Xiaoping immediately thought of this name. In fact, he had been collecting information about the evil god universe for the past few hundred years. The most famous place was the Fallen Godland. Sogu website. Chapter 2872. The so-called Fallen Godland was the place where the evil god fell. It was said that it was the largest main world in the evil god universe. It was called the Land of Gods. Many evil gods lived there. It was very prosperous. But later, these evil gods left for other universes and kept invading. With the power of evil gods, they were invincible and conquered many universes. However, if one walked too much at night, one would eventually encounter a ghost. When they attacked a universe, they encountered an extremely powerful opponent. The opponent was also a powerful dominator god. Its name was Feathered Serpent God. The authority of this sovereign god was extremely terrifying. It was the ability to replicate. In other words, it could duplicate all God's powers. No matter what power or ability they had, it could duplicate them and use them as its own. It was practically invincible among the dominator gods, sweeping through everything in its path. Countless weak evil gods have been killed by it, and even a few dominator gods have been killed by it. In order to kill the Feathered Serpent God, the evil gods had schemed and created a trap. They had pulled the Feathered Serpent God into the evil god universe and used the evil god universe's source energy to suppress the Feathered Serpent God's godly power and weaken its power. Then a group of evil gods attacked it. But Feathered Serpent God didn't fight alone. It had many servants and an ally. It seemed to be a terrifying creature born in the primal chaos void, the primal chaos jellyfish. This jellyfish also had the power of a ruler god. Although it wasn't as strong as Feathered Serpent God, it had a special power, imprisonment. As long as one was swallowed by the jellyfish, no matter how strong the enemy was, they couldn't escape. Its stomach was the strongest prison of the primal chaos. It could even immortal gods. It could even swallow the gods in its stomach to increase its power. When Feathered Serpent God found an enemy it couldn't kill, it would summon the jellyfish to swallow the enemy. The result was obvious. Feathered Serpent God and the jellyfish worked together. Even in the evil god universe, and suppressed by the universe's origin power, they could still display terrifying power. Under the leadership of a dominator-level demon god, Demon Eye, countless evil gods charged forward fearlessly. In the end, after hundreds of millions of years of war, the entire evil god universe was destroyed. Finally, with the death of countless evil gods and the death of more than a dozen demon gods, Feathered Serpent God and the Chaos Jellyfish were finally buried in this origin world. However, this battle had also dealt a heavy blow to the evil god universe, speeding up its destruction. In fact, the evil gods would fall into deep slumber from time to time, not only to reduce the consumption of the universe source, but also because of that battle, the injuries on their bodies had yet to heal, and they were still injured. After all, their injuries couldn't be healed so easily after experiencing that earth-shattering divine battle. It was also due to the influence of this battle that their invasion of the infernal realm slowed down. Even now, who knew how many years had passed, the evil gods had yet to recover. There must be great opportunities in the fallen godland. Xiao Ping clenched his fist. Without a doubt, the fallen godland had countless evil gods that had fallen, causing that place to become a forbidden ground. Even evil gods didn't dare to step into that place easily. However, the blood of countless evil gods flowed in that place. Due to the immortal characteristics of the gods, even after the baptism of billions of years, the blood of the gods wouldn't decay. Moreover, he didn't need to go deep into the fallen godland. As long as he found the blood of some powerful evil gods at the periphery, he would be able to complete the cultivation of his origin clone technique. Therefore, he felt that heading to the fallen god land wasn't too dangerous. Moreover, once he obtained the benefits, not only would he be able to successfully cultivate the origin clone technique, but he would also be able to break through to the demigod realm in one go. A few days later, Xiao Ping traversed through countless worlds and traveled for God, knew how many light years before he finally arrived at the famous fallen godland. This place was considered the most famous place in the evil god universe, and many of the evil gods' dependents knew about it. Is this the fallen godland? He focused his eyes and saw a huge and boundless dark area in the distance. This place was filled with terrifying void cracks in all directions. It seemed like these were eternal void cracks that were shattered by the power of the gods. Even the source energy of the universe couldn't repair them. This could be considered a permanent scar of the universe. From these void cracks, there seemed to be a huge void turbulence that surged in. If ordinary creatures entered, they would instantly be minced into pieces by the void turbulence. However, the void turbulence wasn't the greatest danger. The greatest danger was the evil gods that died tragically in this area. After they died, the evil god power in their bodies lingered, forming a terrifying disaster that emitted curses, death, corrosion, chaos, evilness, and other auras. Once one entered, one's soul and even bloodline would be distorted by the terrifying evil god power. Even the dependents of the evil gods couldn't resist such distortion, chaos, and evilness. Moreover, when the powers of many evil gods intertwined, terrifying monsters would be born. Just by looking from afar, Xiao Ping could sense that this was an inauspicious place that would make one flinch. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just then, more than 10 monsters flew over from afar. They were all demigod dependents of the evil gods. They emitted extremely evil power. They were ghouls, giant evil worms, earth-drilling bugs, scary hunters, and other creatures. They were all famous dependents of the evil gods and were in charge of ruling worlds. It wasn't strange for these dependents of the evil gods to come to the fallen godland. Although this place was extremely dangerous and could be considered a forbidden land, many creatures still wanted to wander around here. Perhaps they could find some treasures and opportunities. Huh, a human? Why would a human appear in the fallen godland? What's going on? At that moment, a demigod-level ghoul saw Xiao Ping's figure and was instantly taken aback. In the evil god universe, no human would come to the fallen godland. They couldn't even get close. There was no such top expert among the humans. Any human with a bit of strength was basically short-lived. These human experts couldn't withstand the power of the evil gods and turned into chaotic monsters. You're just a human. How dare you come to the fallen godland? You really don't know your place. The giant evil worm sneered. It looked down on humans and thought that humans were just food. As long as it stood beside humans, it would feel embarrassed. Bring him over. I am interested in this human. He is strong enough to come to the fallen godland. I wonder what kind of power he has cultivated. The dread hunter snickered and looked at Xia Ping as if he was looking at his prey. Chapter 2873. Human, get over here right now. The earth-drilling star worm yelled at Xia Ping like it was ordering its servant around. Tell me everything about why you came to the fallen godland. Tell me all the treasures you have and the source of your power. If you don't say anything, I'll kill you in your race. Do you understand? It gave off a terrifying, murderous aura as it stared at Xia Ping. The other evil god minions also looked at Xia Ping like they were looking at an ant. They didn't care about Xia Ping at all. Kill me and my race? Just you guys? Xia Ping laughed when he heard that. What's wrong? You look unhappy. What do you want to do? Do you want to fight against the mighty, evil god minions? Do you know how to write the word death? The terror hunter stared at Xia Ping as if he could tell that Xia Ping was unhappy. This human is a little crazy. He didn't even kneel down and beg for mercy when he saw us. He's so arrogant. If we don't teach him a lesson, he won't know who the ruler of this universe is. The evil worm was filled with murderous aura. It was a little unhappy and wanted to kill this human and tear him into pieces. Whoosh! In an instant, Xia Ping's body flashed, and he appeared next to the earth-drilling star worm without a sound. He was so fast that the space around him didn't even ripple. So fast. The demigod monsters were shocked. They didn't expect this human to be so fast. He was so fast that they couldn't even sense him with their divine senses. Most importantly, when this human moved, he didn't make a sound. He didn't cause any ripples in the space. In fact, Xia Ping hadn't been idle in the past few hundred years. Apart from comprehending the origin laws of the universe and increasing his powers, he also cultivated again. He comprehended many skills and mastered all his skills. The teleportation just now was a speed skill that he created, space-time wings. He had 2 wings on his back. One of them contained the power of time laws, while the other contained the power of space laws. When the 2 wings were stacked, he could use space-time powers at the same time. When the space-time wings on his body flapped, space-time turned into ripples. Any space-time fluctuations would be smoothed out, allowing his speed to reach the pinnacle. As long as it was within the range of Xia Ping's divine sense, he would be able to arrive instantly by flapping his space-time wings. Furthermore, he would be able to do so without making a sound. Even a demigod expert would not be able to detect him. In fact, while he was moving, no power of laws could restrain him. All divine abilities and magical techniques were immune to them, and they were all blocked by the power of space and time. This was also the wings of freedom. Dong! In the blink of an eye, Xia Ping had arrived beside the earth-boring insect. Without wasting any time with it, he jabbed his finger at the earth-boring insect's body and pierced through it as easily as if it was tofu. Ah! Suddenly, the star-drilling insect let out a shrill scream, more miserable than a pig being slaughtered. At the same time, a dark golden flame surged into the deepest part of its body. Crash! The earth-drilling star worm's entire body was being burned by the infernal golden crow's flames. Its entire body seemed to have turned into a huge torch, burning every cell in its body. In just a breath's time, the earth-boring star worm had turned into a pile of ashes, leaving behind pure origin energy. Not a bad fuel. Xia Ping was very satisfied. Burning a demigod monster to death allowed him to obtain a huge amount of energy. It was actually very rare for him to encounter a demigod monster that was alone. Generally speaking, these demigod monsters lived in the sanctuary and would not appear easily. Over the past hundreds of years, he had rarely encountered these demigod monsters. Now, he could be considered to be in luck. He had actually encountered more than 10 of them, and it just so happened that he had burned all of them to death, using them as energy for him to ascend to the demigod level. He actually killed the earth-boring star worm. Human, you're courting death. You're courting death. You're seeking your own death. Kill him immediately. He's just a lowly human, yet he actually dared to attack the great god of evil's kin. Tear him into pieces. I'm going to devour his flesh and blood." Seeing this, the many demigod monsters were enraged. They were instantly enraged, and an unparalleled rage arose from the depths of their hearts. To them, it was as if an extremely weak ant had actually dared to resist their great ruler and had even been killed. How humiliating was that? If news of this were spread, they would all become the laughing stock of the other monsters. They had actually been killed by a puny human. This was simply the greatest joke in the world. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More than 10 demigod monsters were infuriated. Terrifying evil energy erupted from their bodies, seemingly turning the entire area into a dark domain that devoured and corroded everything. It was as if this dark power was going to pull Xia Ping into the endless darkness and devour his flesh and blood. Die! Xia Ping didn't even look at it and roared. Bloodline mystique, soul shriek. This was the bloodline mystique from the Golden Crow of Hell. When he had ascended to the complete archaic realm, the power of this bloodline mystique had increased by countless times. A huge Golden Crow of Hell seemed to have appeared behind him, emitting the might of a demon god. It let out a long shriek into the sky, producing a terrifying soul wave. In an instant, the wave that was close to the laws instantly enveloped these demigod monsters. What? These demigod monsters were dumbfounded. They had not even started attacking Xia Ping. This was just the beginning. However, in the next second, their bodies were attacked by the soul shriek. They could not resist it at all. Their souls were instantly pulled out from the depths of their bodies by a mysterious force. Impossible. This is impossible. What kind of power is this? Help, help, help. This is not a human. This is definitely not a human. This is a monster in a human's body. Many of the demigod-level monsters panicked and were extremely terrified. They had never encountered such a terrifying thing before. With just a scream, their souls were pulled out of their bodies without any ability to resist. This was an unimaginable soul mystique. Without their powerful bodies, only their weak souls were left. They were no different from ordinary creatures. Dong! Before these demigod monsters could say anything, the shadow of the Golden Crow of Hell in the depths of the void suddenly opened its mouth, creating a terrifying vortex that produced a terrifying, devouring force. In the next second, the souls of these demigod monsters were all devoured by the Golden Crow of Hell. In an instant, the souls of these demigod monsters were refined by the furnace of hell, leaving behind only the purest soul energy. Clearly, these monsters had died in an instant. In this void, only the bodies of more than 10 demigod monsters were left. Sogu website, Chapter 2874. Good material. Xia Ping grabbed all the corpses of the demigod monsters and threw them to the world tree to devour. The corpses of the demigod monsters could not be wasted, as each corpse could be refined into a life and death fruit. It was rare to see a chance to kill a demigod powerhouse. In the modern universe, the death of every demigod powerhouse would cause a huge commotion. However, in the evil god universe, there were many evil gods, let alone demigods. Hence, even if you were to kill a dozen demigods, it wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't even cause a commotion. However, Xia Ping's strength was even more terrifying than before. He could kill ordinary demigods easily. They could not resist his attack at all, especially the demigods of evil creatures. The power of the infernal golden crow flames on his body could definitely restrain them, causing them to die faster, and their strength was lower. Rumble, after the World Tree obtained the corpses of the demigod-level monsters, countless roots plunged into them and devoured all the corpses within a few breaths. In an instant, more than a dozen life and death fruits grew on the branches of the World Tree, emitting an extraordinary aura. So fast, Xia Ping was a little surprised. If the World Tree had devoured the corpses of the demigod monsters before, it would not have succeeded in a few months. However, it had devoured all the energy of the corpses of the demigod monsters in a few breaths. Moreover, the World Tree seemed to despise the energy of the corpses of the demigod monsters and felt that it was not enough. Has it evolved? Xiaoping immediately knew that the power of the world tree had grown to an unimaginable level after devouring the flesh and energy of the infernal god elephant. Mere corpses of the demigod monsters could not satisfy its growing appetite. After tasting the flesh of the phoenix and the true dragon, it was a little uncomfortable to try ordinary meat. It was the same principle. After trying to devour the flesh and blood of the demon god, it was more or less not enough to devour the flesh and blood of these demigods. Has its appetite become picky? Xiaoping was speechless. He did not expect the world tree to become picky. The corpses of ordinary evil creatures could not satisfy the huge appetite of the world tree. However, this was a good thing. It was a side effect of growth. It's time to go in. After killing these demigods, Xiaoping planned to enter the fallen godland. However, after entering, he activated another bloodline divine ability in his body to predict the future. This was the bloodline divine ability that was born after awakening 1 billion infernal golden crow cells in his body. With his current power, he could predict the future 5 days later. This was a rather terrifying ability. Once one could foresee the future, they would be able to turn calamities into blessings. They were omnipotent. Rumble. In an instant, Xiaoping's soul seemed to have entered the river of destiny. It was as if he had peeped into countless scenes of the future. After entering the fallen godland, he had encountered countless dangers. For example, the black whirlpool. It seemed to be a whirlpool formed after the death of an evil god. Once one fell into it, one would probably be instantly swallowed up by the black whirlpool and die without a complete corpse. Blood Sea Swamp. This seemed to be a secret realm formed by the fresh blood of many evil gods after they died. This place gave birth to many terrifying monsters. They were indestructible. As long as the blood sea didn't dry up, they wouldn't die. If one was injured by them, the terrifying evil god malevolent energy would surge into the wound. The wound wouldn't heal, and one would bleed to death. They were the most difficult monsters to deal with in the fallen godland. Therefore, one shouldn't fight with these monsters. One should avoid them. Dreamland. This was a special secret realm formed after the death of a powerful evil god that controlled the dream world. This was an illusory world that existed between reality and illusion. Once one entered Dreamland, one wouldn't be able to control one's life or death. Unless one could see through the dream and escape, one would be trapped here forever. In fact, even some powerful evil gods couldn't escape from this secret realm. This was an extremely terrifying place. Countless evil gods were terrified when they heard of it. Crazy Mountain Range. This was a mountain range formed by the flesh and soul of the evil gods after they died. It was located in the fallen godland and stretched endlessly through the fallen godland. In such a mountain range, there was a terrifying power that could distort one's soul. If one didn't have enough willpower and soul power, one would fall into a state of insanity. But even demigod experts couldn't block the evil, spiritual power of this mountain range. It was basically a dangerous place. Many demigod monsters had appeared in the crazy mountain range before, but they all went crazy and turned into crazy monsters that wandered around the mountain range. Until now, they were still wandering around. As expected, the fallen godland is too dangerous. With a thud, Xiaoping broke free from the river of fate. He saw what would happen the next 5 days and knew the difficulties he would face. Of course, the dangerous places in the fallen godland couldn't kill him. Now that he had the ability to predict the future, he knew more about the fallen godland and could avoid danger in advance. But I don't need to go deep into the fallen godland. I just need to stay at the periphery. After all, my goal this time is to get the fresh blood of these powerful evil gods. Xiaoping clenched his fists. In fact, the entire fallen godland was the battlefield of the evil gods. They had fought for billions of years, and blood was scattered in every corner of the land. There was the blood of powerful evil gods everywhere. But what he wanted the most was the blood of the 3 dominator evil gods, the chaos jellyfish, the feathered serpent god, and the demon eye. The 3 dominator gods were extremely powerful and could be considered the main force of the battle. One could imagine how powerful their bloodlines were. They were definitely not weaker than any demon god from hell. The blood of the 3 dominator demon gods is scattered in the crazy mountain range. Xiaoping immediately found the place where the blood of the 3 dominator demon gods appeared. The closest place to him was the crazy mountain range. Although the crazy mountain range was also extremely dangerous, its biggest danger was that it could corrode and distort one's soul. But Xiaoping was least afraid of attacks on the soul level. He had the golden crow of hell bloodline and many fortuitous encounters, which caused his soul power to far exceed that of a demigod expert. He didn't know exactly what level it was. Therefore, ordinary soul attacks had no effect on him. Moreover, even if his own soul could not withstand it, the system in his body would be able to help him withstand it. Relatively speaking, the crazy mountain range wasn't that dangerous. It was considered the least dangerous area. Chapter 2875. 3 days later, Crazy Mountain Range, Land of the Fallen God. After Xiaoping entered the land of the fallen god, with the guidance of the images from the future, he avoided countless dangers and entered the Crazy Mountain Range safely. Rumble. In an instant, as soon as he entered the Crazy Mountain Range, he immediately felt the terrifying coercion of the evil god erupting from the depths of the mountain range. It was as if endless evil spiritual energy was trying to pollute his soul. In the depths of the void, endless dark energy permeated the air, trying to penetrate his sea of consciousness. Come on, good boy, become one with me. Do you want to become a king, a god, and have power over the world? Believe in me, and I will give you everything. Good boy, sleep, sleep. This is the safest place. You will find peace here. It was as if countless evil voices were vibrating in the depths of his sea of consciousness, buzzing and whispering all the time. Those were the whispers of the evil god. If ordinary creatures heard such voices, they would instantly go crazy. Their souls would be distorted, and they would die with blood flowing out of their 7 orifices. You're courting death. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. The infernal golden crow bloodline in his body surged, and the terrifying infernal golden crow flames began to burn, turning into eternal flames. Sizzle, sizzle, in an instant, shrill screams came from the depths of the void. The whispers of the evil god and the evil spiritual energy that penetrated his body could not withstand the burning of the infernal golden crow flames. As soon as the infernal golden crow flames on his body began to burn, it was as if flames had encountered oil. All the evil spiritual creatures were instantly turned into ashes. With his body as the center, the terrifying infernal golden crow flames were produced, and the area within a radius of hundreds of kilometers was turned into a boundless sea of fire. The flames even spread wildly in all directions. Rumble. Countless evil spiritual creatures hiding in the crazy mountain range let out shrill screams. As soon as they came into contact with the flames, they were instantly burned into ashes. Even the mountains were completely burned. Every inch of soil, every plant, and even every grain of gravel became the best fuel for the infernal golden crow flames. It can't be. Is there a fire? Xiaoping was a little confused. He just wanted to enter the crazy mountain range in a low-key manner and try to resist the erosion of the evil spiritual power of the crazy mountain range. However, as soon as he entered the crazy mountain range, the evil energy instantly triggered the infernal golden crow bloodline in his body to fight back. No, it should be the infernal golden crow's instinct to devour. It was as if this wasn't some crazy mountain range, but delicious food. The infernal golden crow's flames burned wildly, spreading out at a speed visible to the naked eye. Wherever the flames passed, all the evil creatures were turned to ashes, burning the ground. So that's how it is. The entire crazy mountain range is fuel and food. Xiaoping immediately understood. Originally, this crazy mountain range was formed from the blood, flesh, and spiritual power of the evil gods. It was equivalent to the essence of the evil god's blood and flesh, and it contained an incomparably evil power. For other living beings, this place was naturally a dangerous place. They couldn't resist the evil god's murmurs at all. Their minds and souls would be instantly distorted and devoured. However, To the golden crows of hell, this was simply a delicacy. If they wanted to burn the other evil gods to death, they would have to fight for 300 rounds. However, these evil gods were already dead, and they were only left as fuel. They were like cooked delicacies. This was like a pie falling from the sky. Naturally, it made the infernal golden crow's bloodline desire to devour it. He could feel a huge amount of origin energy surging in his body. His infernal golden crow's bloodline was also crazily awakening, and his power was endlessly increasing. At this moment, the crazy mountain range was no longer a dangerous place. Instead, it was his territory. Found it. It didn't take long before Xia Ping found the demon eye, chaos jellyfish, and feathered serpent god's blood in the depths of the crazy mountain range. It seemed that their blood had turned into 3 huge blood lakes. This was because the bodies of these 3 sovereign gods were simply too big. Even a single drop of blood was as big as a lake to the tiny humans. The 3 blood lakes emitted terrifying demonic pressure. It seemed that ordinary living beings would be crushed by the demonic pressure just by coming to the edge of the lakes. However, he had the infernal golden crow's bloodline. Naturally, he could resist such demonic pressure. This is the blood of a sovereign god. It's really incredible. Xia Ping was amazed. He saw that the demon eye's blood was black and extremely thick, like oil. It contained terrifying, evil, and distorted nomological power. The chaos jellyfish's blood was transparent. If he didn't sense it with his divine sense, he would think that it was a lake without water. It contained incredible nomological power. The feathered serpent god's blood was silver and contained an extremely noble aura. It was ever-changing and all-encompassing. The origin doppelganger technique is finally complete. Xia Ping was very excited. With the blood of these 3 sovereign gods and the Taotia's blood, he could quickly condense the remaining 4 origin doppelganger. Right, I can just cultivate here in the crazy mountain range. Xia Ping looked around. Originally, he wanted to leave this place to cultivate. However, the crazy mountain range was burning crazily. It had become the infernal golden crow's burning hell. It was his main battlefield. Wherever the infernal golden crow's flames spread, no evil creature or evil god could approach. There was probably no safer place in the evil god universe than here. Moreover, as the infernal golden crow's flames burned, he could also take the opportunity to devour large amounts of origin energy. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. There was no better place to cultivate than here. However, I still need to make some arrangements. Even if this place was very safe, it was better to be safe than sorry. Therefore, Xia Ping decided to arrange powerful restrictive array formations around the mountain range. This way, even if other evil creatures or evil gods entered, they would be immediately warned. In fact, the power of such a restrictive formation could even kill the other party. Dong! At this moment, after obtaining the blood of the 3 sovereign gods, Xia Ping immediately entered the mountain range to cultivate in seclusion. However, the scene of the crazy mountain range burning with dark golden flames was immediately noticed by many demigod monsters who entered the fallen godland. Even though the fallen godland was extremely dangerous, there were many monsters who entered the fallen godland. They also wanted to obtain the blood of the evil god, or even the divine weapon left behind by the evil god. Once they obtained it, they would immediately ascend to the heavens and improve their strength by leaps and bounds. Sogu website, Chapter 2876. What's going on? Why is there a fire in the crazy mountain range all of a sudden? A demigod monster was shocked to see the dark golden fire erupting from the crazy mountain range. It had no idea what was happening in the crazy mountain range. I'm not sure, but this is the fallen godland. No matter what happens, it's normal. Another demigod monster shook its head. However, nothing strange could happen in the fallen godland. Even if there were countless cracks in space, it was possible that all the demigods would be devoured, let alone a fire. Therefore, it was already used to such things. What a terrifying fire. I can feel that if this fire spreads, even a little bit of it will seriously injure us or even kill us. This is the divine fire. A demigod monster looked serious. It could feel the terrifying dark golden fire. It contained a terrifying destructive power that was even more terrifying than the power of the evil god. Its heart palpitated as if it was instinctively warning itself not to get close to the sea of fire. Otherwise, it would definitely die. Of course not. The Crazy Mountain Range is already an extremely terrifying area. Anyone who gets close to such a strange fire will die. The demigods shook their heads. They were not fools. They would not be so stupid as to get close to such a place where they would definitely die. In fact, there were too many similar places in the fallen godland. There might be some treasures there, but even if there were treasures, one would need to be alive to get them. Whatever, let's go. We shouldn't get close to such a dangerous place. The group of demigods left quickly, not daring to get close to the Crazy Mountain Range. The golden crow of hell's fire was still burning slowly, purifying all the evil creatures and burning them into ashes. However, the Crazy Mountain Range was too big. It could be said to be boundless. Even with the golden crow of hell's fire power, it would take a long time to burn it. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. I did it. Xiaoping had also been cultivating in the Crazy Mountain Range. He had finally mastered the origin doppelganger technique and condensed 9 doppelgangers, namely the World Tree Doppelganger, the Infernal Golden Crow Doppelganger, the Gaia Doppelganger, the Kuan Peng Doppelganger, the Infernal Divine Elephant Doppelganger, the Taotai Doppelganger, the Chaos Jellyfish Doppelganger, the Feathered Serpent Doppelganger, and the Evil Eye Doppelganger. After 100 years of cultivation, he had condensed the remaining 4 clones. They were the Taotai clone, the Primal Chaos Jellyfish clone, the Feathered Serpent God clone, and the Evil Eye clone. The Taoia's clone was extremely powerful. It only had one characteristic, and that was devouring. There was nothing it couldn't devour, as well as an appetite that could never be satisfied. It desired to devour everything in the world. Its stomach was a dimensional pouch that could devour endless things. Even the chaotic airflow that could destroy all living things would be completely devoured by the Taotai. Moreover, the hungrier it was, the more terrifying the power it could unleash. The depths of its body were densely engraved with the law of devouring. His body was like a black hole. The way for the Taotai to improve its strength was also very simple, which was to eat. The more it ate, the more delicious the food was and the faster it would evolve. If there was really no food, the Taotai would automatically enter a state of hibernation. During this period, the consumption of the Taoia's body was almost at the lowest level. The Primal Chaos Jellyfish. Xiaoping looked at the Primal Chaos Jellyfish clone next to him. Its appearance was no different from a jellyfish, like a transparent ball. However, he knew how terrifying the Primal Chaos Jellyfish was. It was indeed a creature born in the Primal Chaos Void. It was really too powerful. Its body was a huge prison that prohibited all the law of power. Even if a deity entered it, all of his divine power would be deprived, and he would become immortal. As long as its body touched the enemy, it could devour the enemy. Perhaps because the Primal Chaos Jellyfish had not been dead for too long. After refining its blood, he could still obtain some of its memories from when it was alive. It seemed that when the Primal Chaos Jellyfish roamed in the Primal Chaos Void, it often captured those deities that roamed in the Primal Chaos Void. It did not need to fight with the enemy at all. As long as it got close to the enemy and shrouded the enemy with its transparent body, it could swallow the enemy whole and directly capture the enemy into its stomach. In this way, after entering the Primal Chaos Jellyfish's stomach, whether it wanted to eat or imprison the enemy, it would be up to the Primal Chaos Jellyfish. It was said that in its heyday, the Primal Chaos Jellyfish directly broke into some universes and devoured worlds in these universes. There were billions of living creatures in its stomach. Moreover, it had devoured and imprisoned countless deities. No wonder it's a creature born in the Primal Chaos. It's too strong. Xiaoping was very satisfied. If the Primal Chaos Jellyfish clone was used well, it could exert extraordinary power. It could instantly imprison the enemy into the Primal Chaos Jellyfish's prison, and all the law of power in the enemy's body would be sealed. Even if it encountered enemies that could not be killed, It could also imprison them into the primal chaos jellyfish's body. Feathered serpent god. Xiaoping turned around and looked at a snake at the side. This was a unique snake with 2 wings that emitted a silvery white luster. It was extremely sacred and contained a powerful aura of a deity. Its eyes were filled with wisdom, as if they contained the mysteries of the entire universe and endless laws. It was said that the feathered serpent god was the strongest deity in a certain universe and could be said to be the ruler of that universe. It ruled over countless deities, and there was no need to mention its strength. It was simply terrifying and invincible. In particular, its authority replication was simply a bug-like ability. It was already amazing for other deities to have 1 or 3 authorities and could be considered powerful deities. However, the feathered serpent god was different. On the surface, it only had 1 authority. However, this authority allowed it to replicate the abilities of countless deities. It was as if it had gathered all the authorities of the deities. As long as it took a fancy to an ability, it would replicate it and take it for itself. With this ability, the feathered serpent god was known as the king of gods, the erudite among the gods, the god of omniscience. There was nothing that it could not learn, only that it did not understand. Of course, this ability was not omnipotent. There were some abilities in the world that could not be replicated. One of them was the restriction power that the chaos jellyfish used to imprison all the gods. This was the innate talent of the primal chaos jellyfish. It could not be copied, nor could it be learned. It was a unique power. There was also evil god's authority. This was because the evil god's authority was too terrifying. It contained evil, distortion, darkness, corruption, and other powers. Once one copied the evil god's authority, one's own soul would be corrupted, causing one's divine power to distort and fall. It was like being poisoned. Thus, it wasn't that the feathered serpent god couldn't be replicated. It was just that the evil god was poisonous. Once it was replicated, it would contaminate one's own divine power. The gains wouldn't make up for the losses. It was as if the feathered serpent god had been transformed into an evil god. From a certain perspective, the evil god was like the nemesis of the feathered serpent god. 2K Reading Net. Chapter 2877. Evil Eye Doppelganger? In fact, what surprised Xiaoping the most was the last doppelganger, the Evil Eye Doppelganger. This was a dominating evil god from the evil god universe. Even among the many evil gods, it was a terrifying god that could rival feathered serpent god. There were 3,000 evil eyes on its body. Each eye seemed to represent a chaotic evil god world, containing terrifying, twisted, evil, and dark powers. As long as one was targeted by one eye, one would definitely die, even if one hid at the ends of the earth. The 3,000 evil eyes simultaneously erupted with power that was enough to distort the universe, shatter chaotic space-time, and produce extremely terrifying power. Moreover, even a god like Feathered Serpent God, who had the authority of replication, could not replicate such power. This was because such power was too evil, chaotic, and twisted. Once the replication was successful, Feathered Serpent God would be eroded by this power and completely degenerate into a mindless lunatic. This was no different from death. Xiaoping could feel the extreme evil of this evil eye doppelganger. Even the power of the abyss could not compare to it. Even the yellow springs of hell could not purify it. Even a black hole was not as black as it. It was as if this was an extremely evil existence, a combination of all twisted darkness and filth. To be honest, if he did not have the bloodline of the golden crow of hell and the support of the system, which could resist the erosion of this evil power, he would not have been able to maintain his sanity. This power was a terrifying power that could even distort the evil gods themselves. It was an existence that even the evil gods were extremely afraid of. It seems that this doppelganger can't be used casually unless I advance to the god realm. Otherwise, the more I use it, the faster my soul will be eroded. Xiaoping could sense the danger of this doppelganger. It was simply extraordinary. It was like a double-edged sword that could not only hurt the enemy, but also himself. Unless it was absolutely necessary, He would not use this evil-eyed doppelganger easily. Huh, these are memories? At this moment, Xiaoping sensed that endless memories from these doppelganger surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness like a tide. Rumble. Suddenly, he sensed that there were many more memories in the depths of his sea of consciousness. They were memories from the bloodlines of the chaos jellyfish, feathered serpent god, and evil eye. These memories were nothing else but memories about the cultivation of the gods. At this moment, Xiaoping finally understood what it meant to be a god, as well as the hierarchy of gods. In fact, the division of gods was very simple. They were lesser god, intermediate god, superior god, dominator, and creator god. There were only 5 levels. However, even though it was only 5 levels, the difference in power between each level was like the difference between heaven and earth. Basically, it was impossible to challenge someone of a higher level. Surpassing a single level meant surpassing everything, giving one an overwhelming advantage. As for becoming a lesser god, it was very simple. All one had to do was comprehend a Grand Tao law, condense that Grand Tao law into authority, condense it into godhood, and grasp god power. The so-called authority was the embodiment of power after a god grasped the great Tao laws. The more great Tao laws a deity grasped, the more powerful their power would be, and the more powerful their authority would be. The effects of their authority would also be more complicated and incredible. For example, a pinnacle authority like the true demon god was a power condensed from countless great Tao laws. It required one to comprehend the great Tao of reality, great Tao of illusion, great Tao of karma, great Tao of life and death, great Tao of samsara, great Tao of the 5 elements, and many other great Tao laws. There was also the authority of the god of war, which required comprehension of the slaughter great Tao, the death great Tao, the darkness great Tao, the chaos great Tao, the destruction great Tao, the vibration great Tao, and countless other great Tao laws. Of course, these were the authority of the top gods. If it was the authority of some weak gods, there was no need to comprehend so many great Tao laws. Just comprehending one great Tao law was enough. However, the power of this authority would be very weak. For example, some gods had the authority of slaughter. Weak gods had the authority of slaughter, but they only grasped one great Tao law, such as the destruction great Tao. However, powerful gods had the authority of slaughter, but they grasped the resonance great Tao, the plunder great Tao, the devour great Tao, the time great Tao, the space great Tao, and so on. The result was obvious. Even if they had the same authority, a weak god would not be a match for a powerful god. Therefore, from this point, one could see the division of the gods. Lesser gods were gods who grasped at least one great Tao law. Intermediate gods were gods who grasped at least 10 great Tao laws. Superior gods were gods who grasped at least 100 great Tao laws. Sovereign gods were gods who grasped at least 1,000 great Tao laws. As for creation gods, they were gods who grasped 3,000 great Tao laws. At this level, they could completely refine the entire universe and integrate it into their bodies. If a creation god appeared in a universe, they could reverse the situation of a universe entering reincarnation, and the collapse of the universe era would no longer occur. The problem was that it was too difficult to become a creation god. Even the Fiend god universe, feathered serpent god's universe, and even the hell world had never produced a creation god. After all, to become a creation god, one had to grasp 3,000 great Tao laws. Even if one was missing, one could not advance. This represented perfection. Countless sovereign gods had never been able to reach perfection. They had always been stuck at the last step. Some universes that had lived through their 3rd, 4th, and 5th lives had given birth to many sovereign gods, but they had never been able to produce a creation god. This was the bottleneck of countless god universes. Even a powerful sovereign god like feathered serpent god, who had lived for countless eras, could not take this step. Without the birth of a creation god, they could not reverse the fate of the universe's collapse. Countless powerful gods would fall in the process of the collapse of the era. A creation god? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. This realm was probably the supreme realm that all gods dreamed of. Even sovereign gods like Hell's golden crow and Hell's divine elephant had not reached the creation god realm. If they had really reached this realm, then it would be impossible for them to die. This was truly the realm of immortality and indestructibility. Moreover, according to feathered serpent gods' memories, cultivation at the demigod level was extremely important, because it was relatively easier to comprehend the great Tao laws in this realm. Once one entered the god realm, it became extremely difficult to comprehend the great Tao laws. It was said that talented geniuses could even condense 10 great Tao laws and directly advance from the demigod level to the middle god level. Even some monstrous geniuses, such as the ancient monstrous feathered serpent god, could directly condense 100 great Tao laws and advance to the superior god level. Then, feathered serpent god advanced triumphantly and finally advanced to the sovereign level. Therefore, cultivation at the demigod level was extremely important. The more profound the accumulation, the easier the later cultivation would be. Chapter 2878. Superior God. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He hadn't expected to ascend to the superior god realm while breaking through to the demigod realm. It was like ascending to the heavens in a single bound. If he could comprehend 1,000 great path laws while in the demigod realm, wouldn't he be able to ascend to the sovereign realm? He sensed the memories left behind by the feathered serpent god and realized that it was impossible. Putting aside the question of whether there were any top geniuses in the world who could comprehend 1,000 great path laws while in the demigod realm, even if there were such geniuses, they wouldn't be able to ascend to the sovereign realm. That was because the amount of origin energy needed to ascend from the demigod realm to the sovereign realm was boundless. Even devouring half of the origin energy of the universe might not be enough. In other words, even if one had such aptitude, it was impossible to have enough resources and energy. Without enough origin energy, one would collapse during the breakthrough process and die. It could be said that ascending to the superior god realm was basically the limit. Since ancient times, no life form had been able to ascend from the demigod realm to the sovereign realm directly because of the limitations of the universe. Moreover, becoming a superior god was already powerful enough. Among the gods, the majority were lower gods. Middle gods were considered elites, while upper gods were like marquises who controlled countless gods under them. As for the number of sovereign gods, even in a universe, they could be counted on one hand. Therefore, becoming a superior god was basically like ascending to the heavens in a single bound. Oh, I'm about to break through. At that moment, Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. He sensed that his powers and nomological laws had reached the perfection realm. Countless memories of the evil god's cultivation flowed into the depths of his consciousness. In an instant, he came into contact with the power of the life and death law. The power of life and death appeared in the depths of his consciousness and formed a perfect balance. It was as if he had grasped the power of the life and death law. The infernal golden crow bloodline power in his body contained massive power of death and power of life. It could be said that he was born with the talent to control the power of life and death. Now that his cultivation had reached the perfection immemorial realm and he had comprehended the life and death law, it was like a matter of course. It was as if he had naturally grasped the power of life and death in his body. He wasn't excited at all, as if it was a matter of course. Life and death laws. Xiaoping sat cross-legged on the ground. Two black and white nomological runes immediately appeared in the depths of his sea of consciousness. The black nomological rune represented the law of death, while the white nomological rune represented the law of life. When the laws of life and death condensed together, he seemed to have grasped the power of life and death. He could reverse life and death and transform life and death. It was as if he could see into the depths of the river of fate and see the souls of countless dead beings. As long as he wanted to, he could pull the dead out of the river of fate and bring them back to life. However, doing so would result in a backlash from the origin source laws of the universe, which would heavily injure his soul. Crash, the law of life and death runes gathered together, seeming to form a black and white 8 trigrams millstone. They intertwined with each other, forming a samsara. This was the samsara between life and death. Once this life and death reincarnation power was activated, it would be able to block all attacks in the world. It would absorb the power of the enemy's attack and transform it into one's own power. This was the profound mystery of the transformation between life and death. As long as the balance of life and death was not broken, he would be invincible. Rumble, at this moment, the laws of life and death in the depths of his consciousness finally condensed successfully. Xiaoping's 9 great consciousness seas, which were also the 9 great worlds, were in an extremely complete state. They gave birth to mountains, rivers, deserts, continents, seasons, and so on. It was as if they were real worlds. However, even so, there were still no signs of life in such worlds. There was no aura of life, and no life was born in these 9 worlds. However, after comprehending the laws of life and death, the laws of life and death instantly integrated into the 9 great worlds. It seemed as if the 9 great worlds gave birth to the power of life and death. With birth, aging, sickness, and death, life and souls were born. In the depths of the 9 great worlds, in the depths of the deserts, forests, seas, and rivers, countless tiny life forms were born. Although they were just microorganisms and not complete life forms, it was already a start. As time passed, unique life forms would be born in the 9 great worlds. I'm still lacking some origin source energy. Xiaoping sensed that when he advanced from the archaic realm to the invincible realm, he not only needed to comprehend the laws of life and death, but also needed a huge amount of origin source energy at the moment of condensing the laws of life and death. An ordinary perfected archaic saint needed to prepare for hundreds of millions of eras to prepare enough energy to advance from the archaic realm to the invincible realm. However, Xiaoping had the 9 great consciousness seas, and he condensed the 9 great worlds. He even had 9 doppelgangers that needed to advance to the invincible realm at the same time. One could imagine how much origin source energy he needed to advance from the archaic realm to the invincible realm. Even if an archaic saint accumulated countless eras, it would be impossible for him to succeed. However, Xiaoping came to the crazy mountain range. The hell golden crow flame on his body was burning wildly. In this place, every second that the evil god's flesh and blood burned could produce a huge amount of origin source energy. Therefore, he didn't need to prepare at all. As long as he stayed in this place, there would be a continuous flow of origin source energy to help him advance to the invincible realm. It could be said that this place was simply the best place for Xiaoping to cultivate. Rumble. In an instant, Xiaoping felt a huge amount of origin source energy gushing into his body. Like a flood, it crazily poured into his 9 great worlds and even the deepest parts of his 9 doppelgangers. Only a place like the crazy mountain range, where the evil god had fallen, could provide him with such a huge amount of origin source energy. Dong, dong, dong. At this moment, Xiaoping received enough origin source energy. He felt that his cultivation had reached completion, and he suddenly broke through to the demigod realm. I've advanced! Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He was extremely excited. After spending so much time, he finally advanced from the archaic realm to the demigod realm and completely comprehended the laws of life and death. Even the 9 doppelgangers on his body broke through and advanced at almost the same time. They reached the demigod realm, and their strength was incomparably strong. It was as if there were 10 demigods standing in this place. Their auras resonated with each other, and they produced a terrifying power of the world domain, covering a radius of hundreds of millions of light years.